Okay, let's see. I wonder if anyone's even gonna show up. All right, we're gonna share to Facebook, and then we're gonna share to Tumblr. Hey, Zach Hayes, what's up? How's it going? Going good. Just trying to get settled in Portland, you know. Yep. Trying to get used to the job, new place. Trying to figure out, you know, how to keep doing the videos and such, and doing the other stuff. Sorry, still kind of getting over flu or something too. Yeah, lots of fun going on right now. There we go. All right. Ooh, Sasha, hello. Oh God. Technics. What's up? Let's see. I watched a tone the last couple of weeks. What is a tone? I get on Tumblr. Oh boy. Ooh, The Room, The Disaster Artist. Gonna go see The Disaster Artist, I think tomorrow. That's what the plan is. Felix and my brother. Yeah, I think we're planning on seeing 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri tonight. I think that's the plan. And then Disaster Artist tomorrow. Pretty excited for that. Yeah. There you go. Good. Turntable. Watch 3 billboards yet? That's probably a delay on the stream, but planning on seeing it tonight. I guess that's the initial outlook. Hopefully we'll make that happen. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff playing right now in Portland that I do want to see. Can I get better lighting in here, or is this the best I'm gonna get? I do have a lamp, but I'd have to try and plug it in. I need my extension cord. Sasha, my mom just waved hello to you. Oh, hello, Sasha's mom. Zach Hayes, I finally got to see 3 billboards. I've heard it's pretty good. I'm excited for that one. What did I just see? I've got my ticket back here. Yeah, I just saw The Killing of a Sacred Deer, which was very good, very disturbing. Yeah, I'm glad. I don't even really know how much. Oh, Zach Hayes. A lot of movies I've seen is what I meant. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. But yeah, I'm not sure how much I want to say about Killing of a Sacred Deer, because going into it, I really didn't know much. I think they did a good job, like with the advertising and the trailers and everything, to not really to make it to kind of give you more of an idea of what the tone was going to be like. That it was kind of this strange, surreal, kind of darkly comic, but also sort of a horror film atmosphere. But they don't really tell you much about what the plot is, which I think is the right move, because going into Sacred Deer, I really knew nothing about what it was about. I just kind of sat down and started watching it and was really taken by surprise by the developments that took place. I was trying to guess, you know, where it was going to go, what was going to happen, or kind of what the main narrative was going to be, but it really surprised me once it started finding its grounding and started developing along that line. And yeah, goes in some really disturbing directions. But it's an excellent movie. The director, Yorgos Lanthimos, really is an amazing filmmaker. Every single film, he just gets, I think, more and more confident, more and more just daring in the way he makes movies and the way he tells stories. He's really an amazing filmmaker. I think one of the best working right now, especially after The Lobster and now this one. He's really incredible. Creates just the most amazing, striking imagery. His control over tone and pacing. His just, and I don't know his co-writers, but like they're totally odd, unique ear for dialogue, the way the characters talk and interact, and just the staccato rhythm of everything, you know, because his movies are very strange and surreal and very tightly controlled, but they're not like a David Lynch movie or something like that, or like I would compare it almost to like Twin Peaks: The Return or some kind of Lynch thing like that. But there are no pauses. There are no like extended hesitations and moments of silence. Or if there are, it's filled with music or sound or something. It's like the rhythm is very fast, which is unusual, I think, for a movie of this kind. But it's just kind of like once it starts, his movies just kind of go, 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 go with this inexorable rhythm and pacing. Like he doesn't use fades or transitions or anything. It's just cut to next scene, cut to next scene, cut to next scene. It's just his movies are kind of relentless, but so tightly controlled. He's absolutely a visionary, though. I mean, the performances were great. Yeah, the screenplay, the story really went in some unexpected directions. I was sort of taken aback by this one because every other Lanthimos film I felt like has had a metaphorical power to it. Like Dogtooth, I feel, is very much about families and the way that families kind of construct themselves and the way they kind of create rules that they function by. But Dogtooth kind of took it in a really extreme, messed up direction. But I think it's very much about family units and how they function. And The Lobster, of course, is about relationships and love and kind of all the manipulations that people go through for the sake of a relationship. But with Killing of a Sacred Deer, like I couldn't see any metaphor behind it, honestly. I think it was just kind of what it is on the surface is kind of what it is. It's just about these moral choices and these impossible situations, and just kind of developing those along a particular line of like surreal logic and just kind of putting characters in extreme places. So that kind of took me by surprise, but it was good. It was very, very good, very arresting and hypnotic. And if you get a chance to see it, I highly recommend you do. That's Killing of a Sacred Deer. Yeah, and Lanthimos, he's already got his next one in the can, ready to go. He's just working ever since he came to English language territory. He's just been working nonstop. And yeah, the next one's already done, and I think he's getting ready to go right into the next one. It's insane. But yeah, I look forward to seeing what he does next. Let's see, Zach Hayes. Lady Bird was real good. I want to see that one. That's actually playing. Need to go see that. Florida Project. Really want to see that. Sean Baker's new movie. I loved Tangerine and Starlet. I think Sean Baker is an incredible filmmaker. And yeah, I've heard the Florida Project was very good. So I want to see that one too. I think they both are playing here, so I need to go see those. Gosh, what else is playing? I think Richard Linklater's one, his new one, is still playing somewhere around here. Last Flag Flying with Steve Carell, which I've heard is good. I want to see that one. I want to see David Gordon Green's new one, Stronger, with Jake Gyllenhaal. What was the other one? Oh, there's a Second Run Theater like right down the street from me that is still playing It. So I might go see It. I know people were telling me to check that one out. Or have we already moved on to the next thing? I do still want to see it, though. Sasha watched and loved The Red Turtle recently. Thanks again for the recommendation. Only Too Happy, Sasha. That is a great movie. Really great movie. It more than deserves its presentation under the Studio Ghibli banner. It is a masterpiece, same as pretty much every other Studio Ghibli movie. They've got, I mean, their taste is impeccable. I don't think they've ever made a bad movie. Oh gosh, gonna mess up this name. Sagnik Duta. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for that. Favorite horror movies. Gosh, that's funny. Felix and I were just talking about that fairly recently. Or actually, I think last night we were talking about our favorite horror movies. I'm trying to remember the ones we came up with. I know The Shining is on the list for me. Kubrick's The Shining. That's definitely one of my favorites. Eraserhead is up there. Lars von Trier's Antichrist is up there. Gosh, what else? American Werewolf in London, I think, is a great one. And Sam Raimi's Evil Dead movies. Army of Darkness, I've always been very fond of. Favorite horror. I just saw, what was the one? Oh, It Comes at Night. I thought that was a great one of the best horror films I've ever seen. A lot of great stuff recently. It Follows, The Babadook, Goodnight Mommy. A lot of great horror films coming out the last few years. Get Out was another really good one. Trying to think of, I actually just watched one fairly recently on Blu-ray that was excellent. And I'm going through Guillermo del Toro's movies again. He does great horror films, but not the usual kind of horror, where he's trying to constantly scare you or creep you out. His horror movies are more like gothic romance, more kind of dramas and tragedies, but I think brilliant movies nonetheless. I just did a video on Kronos. That's a great one. Devil's Backbone is great. Crimson Peak, I think, is really underrated. But the one I just watched was this one. This is an excellent movie. Woman in the Dunes, released on Blu-ray by the Criterion Collection. This is an excellent movie, though. The guy that made it, Hiroshi Teshigahara, he's like this avant-garde filmmaker. He was really active, mostly in the 60s, I think a little bit into the 70s, but I think he was mostly active in the theater. But he directed a few movies, throughout the 60s, like Pitfall and Woman in the Dunes. Another really good one called The Face of Another with, who was it in that? I know the actor's name, Japanese actor, great Japanese actor, but his name unfortunately escapes me right now. But he was in supporting roles. He was in Yojimbo in a supporting role and Sanjuro in a supporting role. He's like Toshiro Mifune's main antagonist in both of those. I think he played the lead role in Kagemusha. What is his name? I cannot remember it. Damn it. Oh well. But yeah, this movie is really amazing. It is so strange and surreal and visionary. The atmosphere in it is just unbelievable. There's nothing else like this film. It's one that really just draws you in and hypnotizes you, and you kind of get trapped and lost in this world along with this main character. Yeah, but anybody who's never seen that movie should really... That's it, Tatsuya Nakadai. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Sagnik. And I'm sure I'm saying your name wrong. I apologize profusely for that. But Tatsuya Nakadai, that's his name. Yeah, he starred in The Face of Another and is one of the greatest Japanese actors of all time. He's been in so many great movies. I think he was in he's in High and Low too, if I'm not mistaken. And a bunch of other Kurosawa, a bunch of other classic Japanese films. He's in one of my favorite, possibly my favorite samurai movie of all time, which is called Kill, with an exclamation point. Kill. Who is the director of that one? I always forget this guy's name, but he's like the most underrated Japanese filmmaker of all time. Kihachi Okamoto, that's his name. Kihachi Okamoto. But yeah, he's a brilliant director. He did Kill, which I think is one of the strangest, most bizarre, most hyperkinetic, stylish, and hilarious samurai movies ever made. It's based on the same novel that inspired Kurosawa's Yojimbo, but I actually think Kill is a little bit better. He also did The Sword of Doom, which is a great one. God, what else did he do? I know he did a couple others. He did Yojimbo meets Zatoichi. I have the Zatoichi box set up there. And he did a few others, but most of his movies are not really widely available in the States, but he's a great filmmaker. Oh, Harakiri, that's right, Sagnik, thank you. He was also the lead in Ron and Harakiri, Tatsuya Nakada. Yeah, he's a great actor, just an amazing filmography. Yeah, he's one of my all-time favorites. What was I talking about, though? Woman in the Dunes. Yeah, that's one of my favorite. I just rewatched it recently, and it's not a conventional horror film in any sense of the word, but the atmosphere on it is very horror-like, but almost kind of nightmarish, surreal and nightmarish, because it's about this guy. I think he's an entomologist. He's sort of wandering the dunes, the desert, looking for insects. And he kind of ends up in this pit in the sand with this woman. And she's just kind of there doing this kind of like pointless activity of like kind of moving the sand out, but more sand is constantly coming in. And she doesn't really understand why she's there, why she's doing this, but he sort of becomes trapped in this pit with her and is made to help her, move this sand, and he can't get out. And the movie is just kind of about him. Gosh, I don't even know how to explain it, but it's about him just sort of forgetting his previous life and just becoming acclimatized to this life and kind of forgetting who he used to be outside of it, and almost becoming Stockholm syndrome. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's so strange and surreal and hypnotic. I mean, the music, the sound design, the cinematography, the direction, the writing, the acting, it's just brilliant and visionary all the way through. I really want to do a recommends video on it fairly soon, but rewatching it, yeah, I was just blown away by it. It's very long. It's about 2.5 hours, and it's very deliberately paced. But if you can give yourself over to it, I mean, God, it's incredible, unforgettable. I think one of the best horror films ever made. And a lot of my favorite horror films are also, movies that I guess you wouldn't conventionally describe as a horror movie. Like Denis Villeneuve's Enemy, I think, is one of the best horror films ever made, but it's like an existential kind of horror, which Woman in the Dunes is too, more of an existential kind of horror. But yeah, Denis Villeneuve's Enemy and Rick Alverson's Entertainment, actually, starring, I forget the guy's name, Neil Hamburger from Tim and Eric. That, I think, is a really brilliant, hypnotic horror film as well. I really love that one. And there are a few others too. But I'd have to sit down and really look at a list. But those are a few off the top of my head. What else we have here? Zach Hayes. Thelma, I just watched the other day. It's probably my favorite foreign language film I've seen this year, but I've only seen 3 or so not much to go on. I don't really know what Thelma is. I'm gonna have to write that one down. Gosh, I hate being behind on stuff. Thelma. Okay. Gosh, and I have no room on my desk. Zach Hayes, yeah, the less you know, the better for Killing of a Sacred Deer. Absolutely. Probably still my favorite of the year. Shape of Water might take its place. Can't wait to see it next week. I'm very excited for Shape of Water as well. I really want to see that one. And Zach Hayes, same with Disaster Artist. Yeah, very excited for Shape of Water. Really looking forward to that one. Pineapple Squid 2, can't wait to see Shape of Water. Technician, worst movie of the year. That is a tough one because I didn't see very many movies this year. Yeah, generally, if something looks bad to me, I just avoid it. You might need to talk to my brother or Felix. They might be able to give you a pick because they saw some ones that they did not like. They've been talking about Justice League for a little while. They just recently saw Justice League. They're actually working on a video for Felix's channel, Film School Failure. They're doing kind of a movie review parody show on that channel. And yeah, they're working on a video for Justice League right now. And yeah, they've been talking about how bad it was for a while. So I'm probably not going to see it, but I've heard it's bad. um, Gosh, what did I see from 2017 that I could call bad? I don't know. I saw stuff that was, okay. I watched Gold, the Matthew McConaughey one on Netflix. That was kind of disappointing. McConaughey was good, and there were some other good performances in it. And the first half wasn't bad, but the second half really lost steam. And by the end, I was really just like, oh, I just want this to be over. It wasn't a terrible movie, but um, I don't know. It wasn't able to sustain my interest, the whole way through, unfortunately. But it wasn't a terrible movie. I don't know. I wouldn't call it the worst movie of the year. I don't know. I honestly don't know what I would call the worst movie of the year. The worst movie I've seen recently wasn't from this year. I was rewatching some of the Blade movies. I rewatched Blade 2, the Guillermo del Toro one, and that's a really good movie. Some of the effects haven't aged so well, but I mean the story and the craft behind it are still really good, really impressive. And then I'd never really seen Blade Trinity, the third one, and Felix owns all three, so I was like, I'll give Blade Trinity a shot. And oh my God, it was terrible. The first two Blade movies are really, really good, still to this day. But Blade Trinity, my God, it is so awful. I could not believe the dip in quality from 2 to 3. It was unbelievable. And the stories behind the making of that one are just astonishing too, of just Wesley Snipes, of just kind of how he was really losing it during the production of that, just causing trouble for everybody, not showing up on set, only even bothering, to do his job when it was time for close-ups. Just, oh my God, it sounded like a nightmare. And yeah, the movie's a mess. It's an absolute mess. I mean, despite the fact that Parker Posey is a really good vampire, the rest of the movie is just horrendous. I didn't even finish it. I don't know how far I made it. Probably by the time we were going into the third act, I was just like, I do not care in the slightest what's happening. I just took it out and put it away. I didn't even bother finishing it. That's the worst movie I've seen recently. But as for 2017 movies, nothing really comes to mind, unfortunately. I'm sorry. I need to catch up on stuff. Or maybe I don't. I don't know. Should I even bother with bad movies? Let's see. Zach Hayes finally watched Good Time. That's one I definitely want to see. And The Bad Batch as well, which is a great one. I just wanted more by the end of both. Not a bad thing, just the only thing I can nitpick. Well, that's good when a movie leaves you wanting more. Certainly, the opposite would be worse, wouldn't it? A movie that leaves you wanting less, that's not a good thing. But if it leaves you wanting more, hey, that's a positive in my book. Technician, Shape of Water is on my list. We're all excited for that one. Yeah, I hope that one does really well. It looks like it's going to be really good. But yeah, I'm a huge, huge fan of Guillermo del Toro. I wish him all the success in the world because I just think he's one of the best directors working right now. But I'm definitely going to go see Shape of Water. Hope it's good. Really hope it's good. Zach Hayes. I haven't gotten around to Tangerine, which is a great movie. I'll just wait for DVD for Last Flag. I love the director, but just not my kind of story. Last Flag, that's too bad. I've heard actually it's a follow-up to The Last Detail, the Jack Nicholson, Hal Ashby movie from the 70s. It's basically, because it's based on a novel. I believe the novel was a direct sequel to The Last Detail, the same author. He revisited the characters like 30 years later for Last Flag Flying. But then doing the movie, they couldn't really get the actors back or the same rights, I think. So they kind of had to make it its own standalone movie. But basically, Last Flag Flying is apparently a sequel to The Last Detail with Jack Nicholson, which I thought was really cool and interesting. But Richard Linklater, I don't think has ever really made a completely terrible movie. He's had weak spots, but all of his movies, have at least something interesting in them. So I definitely want to see that one. Scoops, Tangerine was great. Yes, yes, yes. Zach Hayes. I love Rosemary's Baby, if that counts as a horror nowadays. I think it still does. And yeah, Rosemary's Baby, I think is one of the greats, one of the all-time greats. I love that movie. The Exorcist, basically everything from the 70s that kind of changed the face of horror, grounded it more in realism and believability. So, I mean, stuff like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Rosemary's Baby, The Exorcist. Alien is not, I guess there's kind of a psychological realism to it, and a sort of logic that it follows. But I mean, it is like a sci-fi setting. But that Alien for me is one of the great horror films. Lot of stuff from the 70s. I think, yeah, still are some of the great horror films of all time. The 70s, I mean, it was a period that changed filmmaking altogether, horror being no exception. A lot of just key horror films, major, influential, game-changing horror films throughout that entire decade. They're still great to this day, I think. Let's see. Scoops. Clu Gulager is in Tangerine randomly. You might have to remind me who Clu Gulager is, but I think I know who you're talking about. I looked this up a while back or something. He plays like a cab driver, doesn't he? I can't remember now. But the name sounds familiar, but I need somebody to refresh my memory on that one. Let's see. Ben Gates. Did you get a chance to see Happy Death Day? The ads did it a giant disservice by making it seem so serious. It's a riot and finds a clever way out of slasher puritanism. Interesting. I never did see Happy Death Day. But that is a Blumhouse release, isn't it? And they're putting out a lot of really great stuff recently. But no, yeah, I saw the trailers for it, and yeah, just thought kind of like, it looks generic. I kind of dismissed it and never really bothered paying attention to it. Maybe I'll have to check it out, though. Maybe I can write it down. But yeah, I do love horror, so I might have to give this one a shot. Happy Death Day. Yeah, I never saw any reviews or anything. Okay. Let's see. Zach Hayes. Bad Batch kind of reminded me of a small Mad Max type store. A lot different than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, it's I remember Felix reacted that way too, based on like the trailer and some other advertising stuff. The movie's, kind of a lot more atmospheric and a lot more tonally focused than action or really focused on outrageous comedy and stuff like that. It's more of a really tightly controlled atmospheric piece. But I think it's a great movie. If you can get into the pacing of it and the style of it, I think it's really a terrific film. But yeah, it seems like it takes a lot of people by surprise when they watch it, that it's not really what they expect based on the premise and the cast and everything, But I think it's good to be surprised by films. Whoa, I'm way behind on the chat here. Tutu, what did you think? Sorry. Good Lord. Okay. Where can I put this? Let's see. What did you think of... what did you think about Killing of a Sacred Deer? Also, do you believe that Phase 4, directed by Saul Bass, is a B movie? I've never seen Phase 4. I've heard it's insane, though. I know it's one of Edgar Wright's favorite movies. I need to check out Phase 4. That's been on my list for a while. I need to write it down, make sure I try and get it. Or is it Phase 6? I thought it was Phase 4. Oh, well. The Saul Bass, it's about giant ant movie. No, not a giant ant movie, but it's like a killer ant movie or something, isn't it? Yeah, I've never seen that one. I've never seen a movie directed by Saul Bass before. I want to check that one out. But Killing of a Sacred Deer I talked about earlier in the stream, but I thought it was a great one. I really thought it was brilliant, a visionary film. I knew nothing about it going into it and was really just taken completely by surprise of where it developed and where it went. And I don't really want to say anything for anyone who hasn't seen it, because I think it's great to just kind of jump into this thing blind and be surprised and shocked by the directions that it takes and the narrative that it develops. But it was excellent. It was really excellent. You can tell, I mean, just from frame one to frame final, that it's the work of a visionary, the work of a director that just puts his stamp, his personality, his vision in every single moment, every single image, every single shot of the movie. I remember there's a lot of bits where I'd see like a certain kind of shot that seemed superfluous, like it was just kind of an establishing shot or something. And this is the way I kind of think watching movies. I try to pick apart the way it's done, and I'll see like an exterior shot or something, and I'll think, oh, this must be second unit work, because I always hate seeing second unit stuff that, you know, doesn't really blend with the first unit work. And so I'd see a shot like that and I think, oh, this must be second unit. But then I'd notice that the shot wasn't cutting, that it was holding on this shot of the building, and like it keeps zooming in on a window very slowly until eventually you notice that the two lead actors, you know, are right there in a window in the building, and the camera just keeps zooming in, and that's the whole scene. That's the whole way he shoots the scene. It's just from like outside, just kind of zooming in on something, and you realize, oh wow, no, this is first unit stuff. This is just his decision stylistically of how he's doing it. And just kind of noticing things like that made me realize, like, wow, Yorgos Lanthimos, he doesn't waste a moment. He doesn't waste a shot. He's never just putting something in there superfluously. It's all like a piece of the story, a piece of the thing that he's constructing. You know, he doesn't have any fat on there. He doesn't have anything that's just kind of there to fill the space. It's all part of his vision, part of his rhythm and the atmosphere and the tone that he's setting. But it's a great movie, and I really don't want to say too much about it as far as like what happens, but yeah, it definitely shocked me and disturbed me. It made me laugh uncomfortably at several moments. And yeah, it just kept me gripping the edge of my seat. I had no idea where it was going to end up. And I wouldn't dream of spoiling it, but I do recommend checking it out. It's dark, it's disturbing, it's not for everyone, but I think it's worth a look at the very least. Scoops. I would agree with entertainment. Hey, thank you. I think that's a great one. Really underseen one. I'd like to do a recommends video on that one or something, because that's, yeah, definitely one of my favorites, and a movie that I think is one of the most underrated and underseen out there. And Scoops, Only God Forgives is like that for me. It's been a while since I've seen that one. I remember not liking it initially. But you know, I'm always willing to give a movie a second chance, so I might need to check it out again. Oh, and Scoops, also Inland Empire too. It's been a while since I've seen that one too. Signic, thoughts on Takeshi Kitano? I love Takeshi Kitano. He's long been one of my favorites. Yeah, I think he's another one of those ones. He's just got a worldview, a particular style, a way of telling a story that is just completely unique to him. I've never seen his dramas. I know he's done a lot of different kinds of movies. He's done stuff like Kikujiro and Dolls, these more kind of like straight drama films. I've never seen one of those. I need to check out some of those. I've really only ever seen his gangster movies and like his violent thrillers, but they're all excellent, so nihilistic and violent, and with all these amazing, masterful, like abrupt tonal shifts where it'll go from kind of like moments of contemplation and philosophy to just suddenly, boom, at the drop of a hat, bloody, horrific, graphic violence. And it just, you know, a dozen guys will get killed in a second, and you'll be kind of like shell shocked from it, wondering like, what the hell just happened? Suddenly everyone's dead. But he's one of the best, I think, at handling those kind of tonal shifts and then going back into that quiet contemplative mood. But so many of his movies have so many great memorable moments like that, and fascinating characters, and yeah, just haunting moments of surreal and darkly comic beauty. But yeah, I've seen Violent Cop, I've seen Boiling Point, I've seen Sonatine, Fireworks, Brother, and the first two Outrage movies. And Outrage, I wasn't a big fan of either of those, but everything else I thought was excellent. Violent Cop, Boiling Point, Sonatine, especially Fireworks, I thought was great, and Brother, I thought was surprisingly underrated. That was his first English language movie. That was his attempt to kind of break into the American market. Didn't really go so well. Brother got some bad reviews, but I think it's really underrated. I thought Brother was a really good one. And I've seen a few of his comedies too. Like there was is it mid-90s, I think? He did a sex comedy called Getting Any, which is very strange, very bizarre and surreal. But I thought it was pretty fun. I enjoyed it. It's very episodic, just kind of built on these isolated vignettes that just go in any number of different absurd slapstick directions, and then he just kind of starts over fresh with the next vignette, the next episode. But I mean, there's like situations where the main character appears to die at the end of certain scenes, and then the next scene he's just fine, like a cartoon. But I kind of like that, the weirdness and the surrealism of that. And there were some pretty good gags in it. And then I saw some recent comedies he did, like he did this trilogy on like his celebrity image, and the entertainment industry. There's a trilogy. I don't remember the order it goes, but I think it's Glory to the Filmmaker, Achilles and the Tortoise, and Takeshi's. And I always forget. I've seen two of the three. I always forget which ones, though. I think I've seen Takeshi's and Glory to the Filmmaker. I haven't seen Achilles and the Tortoise, but both of those were very, very strange as well. And yeah, just all over the place. Didn't really know what to make of those. They were very bizarre. But he's such an interesting filmmaker, whether he's doing comedy or drama or, violent action. He really does it in his own specific way. But yeah, I really like his stuff. And of course, I also saw him on Takeshi's Castle, which in the US we know as MXC, Most Extreme Elimination Challenge. I watched quite a bit of that when I was younger. I thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. So that was probably my introduction to Takeshi Kitano. But I do still have fond memories of that show. I'd kind of like to see the original show without the American dubbing. But yeah, it's always great to see people do ridiculously difficult challenges and almost always end up hurting themselves in some kind of horrible way. Film Persona. Did you see Call Me By Your Name? I have not seen that one yet, but I've heard it's really good. I want to see it. Yeah, I don't think it's playing here in Portland yet, or maybe it was and now it's gone. I'm not sure, but if I see it playing, I'm gonna have to go check that one out. Because I've only seen one Luca Guadagnino movie. I've only seen I Am Love, the one with Tilda Swinton. But yeah, I definitely want to see another one of his movies. And I've heard, yeah, Call Me By Your Name is really good. So I'm going to have to check that one out if I get the chance. Nuno Spencer. Hey, guys, what are your favorites for this year? Mine so far is Columbus by Kogonada. Haven't seen that one. That guy's like an essayist, though, isn't he? Or something like that, like he does visual essays or videos, something. I've heard the name. I've never watched any of his stuff, though. I've heard he's good. But yeah, I did hear that he made a movie. Or she. I don't know if it's a he or she. Sorry, I don't want to assume gender. But yeah, I might have to check that one out, too. Columbus. Yeah, I don't know anything about that one. Columbus. Film Persona. My favorite is Killing of a Sacred Deer, and Happy End. That's the Michael Haneke movie, isn't it? I didn't know that was out already. Yeah, but if Happy End shows up here, I might have to check that one out. Maybe. I don't know. Haneke he's a tough one. He's never a very fun filmmaker to watch, or he never makes movies that are very pleasant or, easy to watch. So I don't know. I might get it might a Haneke movie. I don't know anything about Happy End, but I don't know. It could end up being too much for me to handle in a theater. We'll see though, because I know nothing about it. If it's as difficult and as challenging, or not as, I guess, would challenging be the word? But just as heartbreaking and as gut-wrenching as Amour was, I might not be able to handle it. So, because I couldn't handle Amour. But we'll see about Happy End. If I see it playing, I might have. I'll look into it at least. But yeah, Haneke is always kind of a toss-up for me. I'm never really sure if he's going to do a movie that like will be intense, but I'll be able to kind of to handle everything and process it, like Cachet or the White Ribbon, or if it's just going to be like a relentlessly dark, grim, bleak, gut-wrenching, heartbreaking experience, like Benny's Video or Funny Games or Amour, especially, which I actually was too much for me. I couldn't even finish it. I watched about half of it and I had to turn it off because it was too intense. It was too intense for me, especially at the time that I watched it. I've talked about this before, but Amour was a very difficult movie for me. Just one of those ones that hit me way too hard. And my own personal fears about, aging and disease and death, it just kind of triggered all of that. And I was kind of thrown into a panic watching that movie. So hopefully Happy End is a little bit easier to take. We'll see though. I do love Haneke, despite what he does to me and the emotional brutality he inflicts upon me. I still do think he's a great filmmaker. Cinnamon San, hi, I see I am late. That's okay. Glad you could be here. Scoops, so far for me, Blade Runner and Mother, favorites of the year, but I haven't seen many movies this year at all. Neither have I. Blade Runner is definitely up there, though. Blade Runner, I absolutely loved. I'm trying to think what else. Killing of a Sacred Deer was very good. I think I'd have to give the edge to Blade Runner, though, for me personally. What else did I see, though? I saw Mother. Was that it? I must have seen something else. I wish I had my movie tickets here with me. I can't. Nothing else is really coming to mind. That's embarrassing. But so far, yeah, of kind of what's been stated so far of what I've seen, probably Blade Runner would be my pick for favorite of the year. So far, year's not over yet, but we'll see. But so far, the edge for me is towards Blade Runner. I thought that was a great movie. And I think it's still playing at a couple locations here in Portland. I do kind of want to go see it again. I only managed to see it once. I think there are still some IMAX screens that have it on. I'd love to see it in IMAX. We'll see if I get the chance. Oh, Zach Hayes. Thelma premiered at the New York Film Festival. The director did Louder Than Bombs. Oh, so that's Joachim Trier? I haven't really seen any of his movies. I heard that kind of has a Donnie Darko feel. Louder Than Bombs, I'm guessing. Also, he did some other film called Reprise and Oslo August 31st, which I've heard Oslo August 31st is really good. Didn't really get to, or I think I saw a bit of it. For some reason, I couldn't finish that one. Something was going on. I started it, then I had to do something else. I wasn't able to watch the whole thing. But Oslo August 31st. That was where I heard of this filmmaker, Joachim Trier. Haven't seen Louder Than Bombs. Haven't seen Thelma. I'll have to check out something of his. Zach Hayes. I haven't watched his other films, but now I'm curious after seeing Thelma. So it must have been good. I'm sorry. Did you say earlier that you liked it? I'm sorry if I forget. Cinnamon Sam, what did I miss? Just been talking about movies. Talked about Woman in the Dunes. Talked about Killing of a Sacred Deer, both of which I thought were brilliant, even though, Killing of a Sacred Deer is new. Woman in the Dunes is just a Blu-ray that I watched recently, but they're both great. Both actually weirdly similar in in ways that I didn't realize till now. But if you love one, you'll definitely love the other. So that'd be a pretty good double feature. And yeah, just some other stuff, whatever's been coming up. I think we talked about horror movies. Oh, Scoops. Yeah, talking about Guillermo del Toro. I'm forever holding out for Guillermo del Toro's At the Mountains of Madness. Yeah, let's. He says he's never going to give up on it, that he's going to continue trying to make it. Let us hope one day, somehow, Guillermo del Toro gets to make At the Mountains of Madness. I remember I saw an interview with him. He the way he talks, it sounds like you can never entirely give up hope for it, because it almost was made a couple of years ago before Crimson Peak. So that would have been like probably 2012, 2011, around there. And yeah, he nearly got it financed. Like Tom Cruise had signed on to play the lead. James Cameron was going to produce, and then it fell through. Like they were ready to start shooting. They were building sets. They were creating they were creating special effects tests, CGI tests, and then just for some reason, plug got pulled. Very sad the way the industry works like that. Just everything can be moving along. You think, all right, here we go, let's go. And then suddenly, that's it. Suddenly everyone's backed out, and it's like, nope, not happening. Why? Don't know. Just about face like that. One minute you're making a movie, next minute you're not. It's confusing and frustrating. But I saw an interview he did after the release of Crimson Peak for DP30. And he talked about, how he's still going to try and get it made. He's never going to give up on it. And he just talked about, different strategies he has now. Like he talked about how the special effects, are every year getting cheaper and easier to do as technology progresses, so the budget can be brought down. He was talking about how he initially, insisted on doing it R-rated, but now, of course, like a lot of movies do alternate versions. They do two versions. They do a PG-13 version and an R-rated version. And he talked about how he could do that now. He could sort of compromise in different ways. So there's still a chance. There's still ways he could make it happen. So who knows? I'm like Scoops, forever holding out for the chance that might one day happen. I would love, love, love to see it. But we'll just have to wait and see. Maybe, maybe not. But I certainly hope one of these days it happens. Zach Hayes. I've heard Call Me By Your Name is one of the front runners for Best Picture. Interesting. So I'm definitely curious to see it. And also Zach Hayes. Rosemary's Baby feels like a great Stephen King story to me that happens not to be written by him. I think definitely you could see the influence that something like Rosemary's Baby or the work of Ira Levin, the author of the original novel, how that influenced Stephen King. Because I think Ira Levin, he was one of the first writers, maybe not. My history of literature and the development of supernatural horror is not authoritative. But I think Ira Levin was probably one of the first to write supernatural horror and try to really ground it as much as possible in the recognizable real world, just everyday reality with this supernatural undercurrent. And that seems to be very much what Stephen King excels at doing as well, in taking kind of these supernatural concepts and elements and layering them into a story that is grounded very much, in everyday, like middle America or rural America, just kind of like recognizable everyday reality where, fairly realistic characters are just kind of dealing with fairly normal problems, maybe escalated to a sort of extreme, but it's very much grounded in everyday life and reality. And then he kind of brings in these other elements, these supernatural elements, that are so effective because you believe in the reality of the story and the characters. So he finds ways of kind of bringing in these crazy ideas and making them seem realistic and believable. Like Carrie did that excellently. And It, of course, even The Shining. I'm talking about the books, of course. Pet Sematary. Misery doesn't really have any supernatural stuff from what I remember. But I read I devoured Stephen King books when I was in high school, and they always really scared me because they always really made me believe in the more outrageous elements because I got pulled into the reality of the story and the setting and everything. And definitely, I think you could trace a lineage from Ira Levin for that element of Stephen King, because Rosemary's Baby did that. A lot of Ira Levin stories did that, like Stepford Wives, which was more satirical, but it was kind of like, take this everyday reality, peer underneath the surface, and kind of glimpse at all of the horror of conformity. I think Ira Levin, yeah, was kind of one of the first and one of the best at really doing that kind of formula, that kind of structure. So there's definitely a connection there, a spiritual connection. Whoops, jumped me ahead. Oh my God, how did I get so far behind? Let's see. I don't know where I was. Oh boy. Wow, yeah, I'm way, way behind. Okay, let me see if I can go through a little bit quicker. Jack Shikuti, welcome. Hi, y'all. Hi, Jack. Glad you could make it. Scoops, I know Clu Gulager as the boss character from Return of the Living Dead. Bert. Thanks, IMDb. I don't really remember that film. I've only seen it once, long time ago. I might need to revisit it. I think my brother owns the Shout Factory Blu-ray. I'll have to try and rewatch it. I do love Dan O'Bannon. Sagnik, have you seen any Indian films? I've seen a couple, but gosh, really not as many as I should have. Gosh, maybe only one or two. I don't think I've seen any Satyajit Ray movies. He's one I really need to check out. I need to see the Apu trilogy. And I own a couple that I need to watch. The Music Room. Gosh, who else? I've seen a couple Mira Nair movies. That actually might be it as far as Indian films. But like Monsoon Wedding, I have the Blu-ray of Monsoon Wedding, which is an excellent movie. But I don't really think I've seen any other Indian films beyond that. I need to start making a list. That's embarrassing. But yeah, there's a lot of world cinema I'm not as well versed in as I should be. But yeah, Indian films are definitely a major gap, especially Satyajit Ray. Zach Hayes. I've heard Happy Death Day, going back to that one, was pretty good for a PG-13 film. It didn't take itself too seriously. Well, that's good. Oh, and Ben Gates, that's what made it such a fun watch for me. And it's not every day you see a slasher film dealing with issues of grief with such nuance. Interesting. Right. I'll have to check it out then. I'll have to check it out. All right. Chaz's Dungeon. I've just come out of Colossal. I don't understand the mixed response. Yeah, I thought Colossal was great too. That's why I did the video on it. I thought it was really an excellent movie. I thought that was such a clever story, such a clever screenplay. It surprised me at so many different points. I really enjoyed that one. Oh, Zach Hayes. The director's commentary was pretty good for The Bad Batch. Oh, I haven't listened to this. She has said, the director, Anna Lily Amirpour, she has said she has so much backstory for each character for more stories. Like Miami Man has been there for like 10 years. Miami Man's number is like 88. So you can assume they take in roughly about 100 people per year. That's interesting. I never knew about that. I'm going to have to try and track down like a DVD or a Blu-ray or something. I would love to listen to that commentary. Yeah, that's interesting though. I love extra detail like that. That's a really interesting thing about the Kronos Blu-ray. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah. This is a great release, by the way, but if you check out the booklet that comes with the disc, they've got some essays and a few other things, but they've also got director's notes, Guillermo del Toro's director's notes for the film itself. And it's incredibly detailed, but it's got like information on how the movie's going to look, The colors, the textures, the design for each setting, each section of the movie. He breaks it down, into different sections, different movements, and different locations. And every single one, he has a specific idea for what the colors should be, what the sound design should be, what the textures in the production design should be. And then he has a complete biography for each of the major characters. And it's fascinating to read this. This is all backstory for the main characters, none of which is really ever mentioned in the movie itself. This is just for the actors. And yeah, it's just page after page after page of backstory he's written for each character. It's pretty incredible. That guy is just a creative force. And then he's just got a whole section where he talks about like genre, the nature of like Gothic filmmaking, horror filmmaking, and how this movie, fits in with Gothic archetypes and how they're going to emulate, and pay homage to the history of Gothic storytelling. He talks about like, we're not going to do this. This isn't, sorry, this isn't Friday the 13th, and this isn't, this isn't slasher or splatter. This is Gothic. This is elegant. This is tragedy. This is, something heightened and artistic and stylized. It's just so fascinating to me how in depth that guy goes with everything that he does. It's inspiring to me as well. But yeah, it's cool that they included that with the Blu-ray. Oh gosh, my throat's starting to kill me. Yeah, God, I was knocked out a couple of weeks ago. Just before the move, the week of Thanksgiving. I'm thinking like, okay, I'm going to try and pre-record, a bunch of videos so I don't fall behind on the channel. And then I'm going to pack and get ready to move to Portland. And then, yeah, I just get hit with some kind of flu or something. And oh my God, it just knocked me out. I mean, like I couldn't even get up because I'd start feeling dizzy and nauseous and I just collapse, sweating and sore. I think it was as sick as I've ever been in my life. It was misery, absolute misery. I couldn't do any video work. I'm pretty much missed out on Thanksgiving. I couldn't eat really anything. Oh man, that was one of the most intense weeks of my life. Just those couple days, I was as sick as I've ever been. Not fun. And then, yeah, just had to pack in a frenzy, like the day before, came up here. So yeah, I'm still trying to get adjusted. Still coming down from the illness, still getting used to new surroundings. But yeah, it did not go as smoothly as I was hoping it would go. But hey, there you go. That's life. You got to roll with the punches, right? Trying to do the best I can. But yeah, we're getting by, aren't we? Jack. Huge thank you to the peeps who recommended Angel's Egg because I watched it and loved it so much. I still haven't seen that one, damn it. Chaz's Dungeon. Did you see Killing of a Sacred Deer, or are you discussing the film? Apologies for my late arrival. I did talk about that. Were you there for that? I talked about it a little earlier, but I'm so far behind on the chat. I don't know who's seen what. But yeah, I did see it. Look, my ticket. There's my ticket. I love saving movie tickets. But yeah, I thought it was great. This is now the third time I've talked about it. But yeah, I thought it was great. Absolutely visionary. You've seen it, right? But yeah, just the mixture of comedy, very dark comedy and horror, and the surreal atmosphere and the visionary direction. It was brilliant. I was hypnotized by it. I liked it very much. Let's see. Oh, Chaz's Dungeon. I loved Killing of a Sacred Deer. Okay, so you have seen it. Although my family absolutely hated it. Makes sense. Not understanding why anyone would enjoy the film. A little extreme, but hey, they're entitled to their opinion, right? Well, Zach Hayes, you're welcome, Jack. I was one of the people that recommended Angel's Egg. There you go, Zach. Zach, my man. Thanks for the recommendations. Chaz's Dungeon. I watched Old Boy, the original, of course, for the first time. The film evokes such brutal emotion during its third act, an emotion I've rarely felt during a film. Yeah, Old Boy is devastating. That's like good old-fashioned Greek tragedy, like huge in scope. Like just yeah, that is a movie that really, really digs deep for its tragedy. It's a great film, though. I think one of the greatest. Uh, but yeah, I would love to make a movie like that. You know, just this huge, epic, like Greek drama tragedy where everything kind of, the whole story kind of converges down onto one point where everything, like an ironic twist is kind of revealed that kind of renders everything the lead hero does as futile, you know, and he kind of realizes his own powerlessness and his own humanity. It's so well done in Old Boy, and really just yeah, hits you straight in the gut in that movie. But it's so brilliant. You don't really see stories or movies like that very often, but yeah, Old Boy is really something special. Let's see. Kubrick lover and Land Empire. Meh. Let's see. Chaz's Dungeon. Colossal reminded me of Being John Malkovich. That is interesting. I never thought about that before, but it is kind of similar in different ways. They both kind of deal with, I guess, puppetry in a certain way. That is funny. I never thought about that. That's interesting, though. Sagnik, Kitano's new Outrage film played in a film festival in my city. That's very cool. Yeah, the third one. Is that new, or was that a couple years ago? Or did he do another one? I know there's three. Did he do a fourth one, or was it the third one that premiered? That's pretty cool, though. I would, whether it's Outrage or whatever, I would love to see a Kitano film in theaters. I think actually he's got a new one. It's like a Yakuza movie, but kind of like a comedy, like a Yakuza comedy or something. But it stars the guy from In the Realm of the Senses, the male lead. I forget his name, but he plays the lead role in Kitano's new movie. And I've heard it's really good. Like I've heard it's one of that actor's best performances. But it sounds really interesting to me. I'd like to check it out. But I don't think it's gotten distribution outside of Japan yet. Really like to see it, though. Let's see. Chaz's Dungeon. Oh, you talking about Colossal? I'm blown away by the fact that that film was made for only $10 million. Yeah, you can get a lot of bang for your buck these days with, yeah, I guess just the tools that are available now. And especially just with post-production stuff now, how more easily accessible a lot of those advanced tools are. Yeah, you can make a $5-10 million movie that looks like a $50-100 million movie. It's yeah, those kinds of tools are getting more and more easily accessible. Yeah, to smaller and smaller productions. It's very cool though. You can make such a slick and polished looking low budget movie these days, which is nice, and it's getting cheaper and easier every year. Let's see. Kubrick lover. I can definitely understand this. Inland Empire. Inland Empire quickly becomes boring and goes on way too long. However, maybe I don't quite get it. That's always a possibility with Lynch. I always feel that whenever I don't really react positively to a David Lynch movie, there's always that part of my brain that is like, well, I probably just didn't get it. You always feel like there's something like, yeah, I don't know, Lost Highway, yeah, I didn't care for it so much, but I probably just didn't understand it. I probably just didn't get it. Lynch is one of those filmmakers. He does that to you. You're not sure if it's him or if it's you, because he has such a specific way of doing things. It's hard to even say, exactly what it is that makes his great film so great and his lesser films, not so great. It's really hard to discern what he's doing in one film versus another film that is working or not working. You kind of just have to go through gut instinct. For me at least with Lynch, you kind of just have to go through gut instinct when you react to his movies. Either you're really stirred and drawn into it, or you're just kind of held at a distance and kind of detached from it. So yeah, certainly I went back and forth with Inland Empire. Certainly that's one of his most challenging. But yeah, there were definitely moments in that one where I was very into it, and then others where I was just kind of lost and yeah, just trying to figure out where I was, what was going on. But then it'd have another like really good scene that would draw me back in, and then I'd kind of get lost again, and then I'd get drawn back in. It's a trip. But yeah, I haven't watched it in years. I'd like to give it another look. And we got some defenders of it too. Cinnamon Sand. Inland Empire is one of my favorite Lynch movies. And Chaz's Dungeon, I was in the mood for a 3-hour long film. That's why I wasn't bored. There seems to be a pretty heavy split on Inland Empire, especially. Oh, Jack Chekuti, Inland Empire is my favorite film from Lynch. Yeah, a lot of talk about Lynch. Yeah, gosh, I'm surprised how divisive he is. Mulholland Drive. Scoops, I feel like Mulholland Drive is a better version of Lost Highway. Chaz's Dungeon, the only Lynch film I haven't seen is Mulholland Drive, the one most have seen. What's wrong with you, Chaz? I'm kidding, of course. But you got to see that one, damn it. Jeez. Let's see. Gosh, I need some more water. Oh yeah, Sagnik. Kitano's Zatoichi movie was pretty good as well. I forgot he did a Zatoichi movie. I totally forgot about that. That was like in the mid 2000s, I think, or early 2000s. It's been a long time since I've seen that one. Yeah, I remember that was good. It had kind of a lighter comedic tone to it. I'd like to rewatch that one. I still need to watch all the Zatoichi stuff up here in the box set. There's like 23 of them or something. I've only seen the first one. Haven't seen any of the others. Yeah, just the original Zatoichi with Shintaro Katsu and Takeshi Kitano's Zatoichi. Those are the only Zatoichi films I've seen. Oh, and Sagnik again. Takeshi's Castle used to be on TV, dubbed in our local dialect. I'm assuming not done as a parody, because that's what the Americans did with it. They just dubbed a bunch of silly voices over it, and yeah, just made fun of the whole thing. When I was a child, though, it was comedy gold. I loved it. Haven't watched it in a while, though. Oh, Zach Hayes, Mulholland Drive is probably my favorite Lynch. I actually think Lost Highway is underrated. So there you go. Again, so many split reactions to Lynch. Other than the murder and dream nightmare aspect, I think it's more about the main character in Hell. I can elaborate. Please do. Chaz's Dungeon. Oh, is this about Mulholland Drive? I've actually never heard this. People commonly state that the film is an improved version of Lost Highway. I'm not a huge fan of the film's style. Is the film reminiscent in that area? I've actually never really thought of Mulholland Drive being like another version of Lost Highway. I guess there are similarities. They both are kind of like homages to film noir. Lost Highway is a lot darker, though. Mulholland Drive is a little bit lighter. I think it's more grounded in character, and there are more elements of comedy, of levity to that one. I think overall it's a more enjoyable, more emotionally investing film. Lost Highway, I don't know, maybe is just a little too relentless, a little too grim, a little too dark and bleak. I'm not sure, but yeah, Lost Highway's never quite worked for me. But Mulholland Drive, I've always loved. So I don't know. They feel like very different movies to me, but I guess thinking about it, they do have a lot of similarities. I've never really compared them in that way before, but that's interesting. Scoops, I rewatched Inland Empire after Twin Peaks season 3 ended, and they are kind of similar. Yeah, that's probably Lynch's darkest stuff, is like Twin Peaks season 3. I don't know, it's also got some of his funniest stuff too. There's a lot of like ridiculous kind of slapstick in Twin Peaks season 3 as well. Inland Empire, I don't really remember a lot of comedy. There's some funny moments, but it's mostly, yeah, kind of about emotional distress, it seems. Kind of like Fire Walk with Me, which is another one of his darkest, most relentlessly grim kind of movies, you know, most relentlessly violent movies. I guess Inland Empire isn't as violent as Fire Walk with Me, but it is still pretty dark, I think, from what I remember. Let's see. Oh, Zach Hayes. I think Call Me By Your Name is starting to expand to more theaters. So if it is, that means I might get a chance to see it fairly soon. Kubrick Lover 1972. Love The White Ribbon. It's been a while since I've seen that one. I need to give it another look. But yeah, I remember White Ribbon being really good. And Jack Chekudi, my first viewing of Inland Empire, I didn't like it. Film Persona. Oh, Happy End came out yesterday. It is a comedy. Interesting. The audience I watched it with was crying laughing. It is a black comedy. It was refreshing to see him do a comedy. I had no idea he did a comedy. That's very interesting. Michael Haneke doing a comedy. That's very interesting. Okay, maybe I probably will check it out now. It sounds like I could handle that. I'm sure there's probably still dark moments in it because it's Michael Haneke. But wow, a comedy. That is very interesting. Let's see. Kubrick Lover. Got to see Funny Games and Amour yet? Oh, was that a question for me? Because I think I did talk about those briefly. I have seen both of those. Or I've seen half of Amour. I did talk about that. I've seen Funny Games, which is pretty tough. It's a pretty tough watch, but I feel like there's the abstract elements, the kind of like deconstructional elements of it, where it breaks the fourth wall and it kind of references itself as being a movie. It kind of, I guess it gives a context to the violence and the torture and all the horrible things that happen in that story. It gives it a certain kind of perspective or a context that makes it easier for me to kind of process emotionally and kind of realize, okay, I see why he's doing this. I see the point he's trying to make. So like I can watch Funny Games from beginning to end and make it through to the other side. But Amour was, yeah, I've talked about this a couple times, but yeah, Amour was way too much for me. It was too emotionally intense in the way it dealt with death and disease and aging. And at the time that I watched it, I was really going through a period where I was thinking about those things constantly, and it was really affecting me, really making me terrified and anxious and depressed. And so to see a movie like that, it was really too much for me to handle emotionally at that time. So I was only able to watch about half of Amour, and I just had to turn it off because I could not emotionally handle any more of it. So I might go back to it one of these days, try to watch the whole thing. But yeah, at the time, Amour was just too much for me. But I think Haneke is a great filmmaker, but yeah, just sometimes he's a little too much. He's a little too much for me. But it's always interesting to be challenged by a filmmaker in that way. I think it's good to be willing to step outside of your comfort zone sometimes. Yeah, even if you kind of have to pull back sometimes, I think it's good to try to challenge yourself and to contemplate certain things, learn a little bit about yourself, reflect on things, your own reaction to things. I don't think it's always good to try and constantly keep yourself, in a safe space. And I think art is a great way of stepping outside your comfort zone, and trying to test your own boundaries without, any real consequences. It's kind of a safe place to do that, just a safe way to step outside your comfort zone. So, I like watching films by like Michael Haneke or Lars von Trier, directors like that really do, or Yorgos Lanthimos even, that do kind of take me into uncomfortable spots. There were certainly moments in Killing of a Sacred Deer where, yeah, certain spots, just moments of dialogue or just situations and certain scenes. It was weird experiencing that with a room full of strangers. It definitely made you uncomfortable. I'm like, jeez, this is a weird thing to be watching with a bunch of people I don't know. You could feel the tension in the theater. You could feel everyone shifting uncomfortably, like, oh God, what is? I don't know. But I think it's good to have those moments sometimes, and to think about them and to try to process them. Oh God. Gosh, I'm sorry. Okay. Cinnamon saying, gosh, more interesting Lynch comparisons. Inland Empire and Mulholland Drive have a lot in common story-wise. Both look at the dark side of Hollywood, in my view, among other things. I definitely agree with that. I think Mulholland Drive is definitely about fame and Hollywood, and yeah, I guess the thirst for success, and yeah, popularity. And I think Inland Empire is kind of like maybe a development of that, of where Mulholland Drive is kind of like it's the drive for fame and success. Inland Empire is kind of like the dark side of fame and success, or it's like someone who's already achieved fame and success who is now kind of falling apart at the seams as a result of that fame and success. So I feel like they're two sides of the same coin, or maybe not two sides of the same coin, but both kind of developing the same idea. But just Inland Empire just is kind of on one end of the spectrum, like post-fame, and Mulholland Drive is kind of like pre-fame. That's the way I look at it. But yeah, I think they are both about Hollywood, definitely. That's the way I've always read them. Lionel Henry, seen The Disaster Artist? Not yet. I'm going to see it tomorrow. That's the plan. Tonight, we're going to go see 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Then tomorrow, we're going to see The Disaster Artist. And then probably whenever, is it a week and a half? I forget when. But whenever Shape of Water opens, definitely going to see that too, damn it. Really excited for Shape of Water. But yeah, those three are definitely lined up as must-sees for me. Kubrick lover, the new Blade Runner was visually interesting, but really doesn't match up to the original. I would disagree, Kubrick lover. I thought the new Blade Runner was excellent. I thought it equaled the original Blade Runner. It's a very different movie, but that's what I liked about it. I thought it paid homage to the original very, very well, but did an excellent job of forging its own identity, separate from the first movie. It feels very much like its own self-contained thing. The original Blade Runner, that's that movie, and this new movie, it's its own movie as well. And I think they're both equally visionary. I think they both do as well as any films I've ever seen. They create living, breathing worlds on screen, and they just kind of let you step inside those worlds for a couple of hours. Ridley Scott did that unbelievably well in 1982. I think it's 82. But he did that unbelievably well in that era of filmmaking. And now Denis Villeneuve, I think, has taken up the mantle and done with new tools and more of kind of like a narrative and character basis, done the exact same thing. Really created his own world, his own version of that world that is just as detailed, just as hypnotic, and yeah, just as inviting, just as much a place you can totally get lost in. But I think, yeah, they're both visionary masterpieces. So I would definitely disagree with that sentiment. I thought the new Blade Runner was every bit the masterpiece the original was. Chaz's Dungeon, The Red Turtle or Baby Driver? Best films of the year for me. I forgot about Baby Driver. I saw that. That's right. I saw Baby Driver. That was a really good one too. And I didn't know Red Turtle was 2017. But yeah, those are both great too. Damn. Gosh, my memory's so bad with stuff like this now. Oh wow, Scoops. This must be for Blade Runner. I think it's better than the original, in my opinion. But the original is still really good. Oh, and Jack, my favorite this year is also Blade Runner with Okja at a close second. That was another good one too. Always forget the Netflix stuff. Jeez. Oh, Zach Hayes, I had some problems with the new Blade Runner story, but an awesome theater experience. Definitely. That's why I want to see it in IMAX. Ugh. I wonder, yeah, I might have to look into that. Gosh, I don't know how much IMAX tickets are, though. I'd love to see it in IMAX. Chaz's Dungeon, I believe that 2049 is a masterpiece, and generally better than the original. Although I prefer the original, that's due to the fact that the original is my favorite movie of all time. I could definitely see why. Oh, Cinnamon Sen, I like both Blood Runners. I like both Blade Runners the same. Not one above the other for me. Yeah, it's about equal for me too. Oh, Zach Hayes, I said Thelma is my personal favorite foreign language film so far this year. That's right. Thank you for reminding me. Sorry. Cinnamon Sand, Blade Runner 2049 and The Crosswind are easily the two best films of 2017 so far for me. The Crosswind. I do not know what The Crosswind is. The Crosswind. Okay. Kubrick Lover. Woman in the Dunes is a Criterion box set with Pitfall and Face of Another by Hiroshi Teshigahara. I love the box set. Yeah, I wish I could get that, but I'm only buying the Blu-rays now. And Woman in the Dunes is the only Teshigahara movie they've put on Blu-ray so far. But I would love to get the other two. Because, yeah, Pitfall is brilliant, and Face of Another is really genius as well, too. But yeah, Teshigahara is pretty underrated, I feel. He is, I think, one of the most visionary Japanese filmmakers of the 60s. He really made movies unlike, still to this day, unlike any others. He's been compared, with David Lynch and a few others, but there's something about his work that is specific to him that I don't think is ever really going to be paralleled or matched. He was such a genius director. And I don't think he really did any other films beyond that. I know he did a documentary on Antonio Gaudi that's also in the Criterion Collection, and then maybe one other film beyond that, which I think is also in the Criterion Collection. I forget what that one's called. But yeah, he didn't do very many films, but just, God, every single one was so good. So good. Chaz's Dungeon, The Return, the Russian film, reminded me a lot of Lost Highway, as I had the sense that both films focused The Return. Oh, Twin Peaks The Return. I'm sorry. Twin Peaks The Return reminded me a lot of The Lost Highway, as I had the same sense that both films focused on Lynch's personal interests rather than what would benefit the film/series. I feel like that's just Lynch in general. He's just kind of doing what obsesses him. Gosh, am I the only one that doesn't know what The Crosswind is? In The Crosswind? Jack asks, in the Crosswind came out this year? Cinnamon Sand, yes, here in the Netherlands at least. Jack, it still hasn't been released in Australia. Okay, yeah, I must be behind on something. Is it called In the Crosswind? I'm embarrassed now that I haven't heard of this. Oh, and Kubrick Lover, I watched my Criterion copy of Sid and Nancy. You bastard. I want to get that one so bad. I don't have any money, though. I love Alex Cox, and I love Sid and Nancy. I'm so happy that that's back in the collection. Oh, Cinnamon Sand. Really beautiful movies. Such a shame it hasn't opened in Australia. Not much attention has been given to In the Crosswind. I'm really embarrassed now. I feel like I should have heard of this. Well, I'm gonna look it up after the stream, see if I can watch it somehow. You've stated Chaz's Dungeon. You've stated that you want to watch more Andrei Zulavsky films. Have you ever heard of On the Silver Globe from 1977, 88? Huh. I have never heard of that one. Yeah, I've only seen two Zulavsky films. I've only seen Possession and his last one, which was Cosmos with Neil deGrasse Tyson. No, I'm just kidding. Different Cosmos. On the Silver Globe. I might have to, because we have Movie Madness here in Portland, which has such a great selection of movies to rent. I might have to go there and try and find some Zulavsky stuff and Angel's Egg and a few other things. I'm gonna have to make a trip to Movie Madness and try and scrape together some cash to just rent a bunch of movies that I can watch that I've been meaning to watch for a long time. Kubrick Lover, Sid and Nancy by Alex Cox. I saw it many years ago, but I thought it wasn't that bad a film. Watched most of the special features, just one more special feature, and 2 commentaries to go. Yeah, I think Sid and Nancy is a great film, especially Gary Oldman as Sid Vicious was really, really great. What was the name of the actress? I cannot remember her name. It's not coming to me. But yeah, the actress who played Nancy was excellent too. And yeah, the whole way Cox directed it, making it just, really trying to de-glamorize the life, their kind of like drug-addicted life, really trying to make it as grimy and as filthy and as miserable and depressing as he possibly could. He really kind of set out to strip away all the romance and the hyperbole surrounding them and their lives and their death, and just trying to show like, hey, these people were miserable. It is not fun being a drug addict stuck in a codependent relationship. This is misery. So he really, I think, did a lot to kind of strip away all that that mythology and really try to look at it in a more honest way. It's a great film, though. Let's see. Oh, is it On the Silver Globe you're talking about? Chaz's Dungeon. Many consider the film to be the best unfinished film ever made. Some would consider the film to be the best art house sci-fi film. Apparently, it was the most expensive film made in Poland at the time. Interesting. On the Silver Globe. I'll have to look into that one. That sounds interesting. Oh, God. My throat's starting to give out on me. Zach Hayes. The Bad Batch is in Redbox. It's her first commentary, so it's not the best, but she has some interesting points. That's okay. Kubrick Lover, do you subscribe to any streaming services? I don't know if you've addressed this before. Forgive me if you've already mentioned it. And also, get better, take it easy. I'm still kind of getting over what took me down. It's lingering. It's lingering for a long time. But yeah, the sore throat and the cough just won't go away, and like the sinus issues and stuff. But streaming services, I have Netflix. And I have Hulu, and my brother has Amazon Prime, and I piggyback off of that. So yeah, I got those 3. I want to get Filmstruck, but they don't have an app for PlayStation 3s yet. So, and I'd like to get it on that so I could watch it on this. So I'm waiting for that. But yeah, Filmstruck looks like it has a really cool selection of stuff. Let's see. Chaz's Dungeon. I also save movie tickets. Unfortunately, most were destroyed by the water in my bag. Oh shit, that sucks. Yeah, I still have movie tickets going way back to stuff I saw in high school. I think I still have my movie ticket from when I saw Batman Begins, which that was like 2006, wasn't it? Oh boy. Yeah, I save a lot of that crap. I'm a hoarder. Oh, Jack, Old Boy is the best thing ever. My second favorite film of all time. Buzzing Lamp Productions. Hey, Henry. Hello, Buzzing Lamp. Jackie. Hello, everyone. Hello. Oh, Kubrick lover. I've got to watch the Zatoichi box set as well. Yeah, there's a lot, aren't there? There's like 20 something movies in there. I think it's 23, 20 something. But yeah, I've only watched number one. That's it. And I think I watched it on Hulu back when Criterion stuff was still streaming on Hulu. I was like, yeah, the box set's hella expensive. I should probably just watch them on Hulu. And I watched the first one and then never got to see any of the others before Criterion switched over to Filmstruck. And then somehow, I must have had extra money for some reason. I wound up getting the box set, and I have yet to go through any of them. I've got a ton of Blu-rays I have yet to watch. Not only books down here I have yet to read, but also movies I have yet to watch. I still need to watch that box set. What else do I need to watch? I still need to watch Stalker, of course. That comes up about every week. I still need to watch Inside Llewyn Davis. I still need to watch Day for Night. I still need to watch Fellini's Satyricon. I've never seen that. I've never seen Wim Wenders' The American Friend. I've had that for a little while now. Gosh, what else? Fritz Lang's Ministry of Fear. I still need to watch that. The two Dardenne brothers Blu-rays that I have, and The Kid with the Bike. I have to watch those. I still need to watch A Man Escaped. I've seen A Man Escaped before, but I haven't watched the Blu-ray yet, so I need to watch that. Vengeance is Mine. I've seen that before too, but I need to watch it on Blu-ray. I need to watch the Blu-ray. Gosh, a few others too. Pickpocket I saw. Hearts and Minds. I've never seen that. Gosh, so many. These are mostly just for decoration, but I need to watch the damn things too. Jackie, anyone else excited for P.T. Anderson's The Phantom Thread? Of course, of course. I'm holding out until January for the 70 millimeter release in Chicago. Did he shoot that in 70 millimeter? I was not aware that he shot it in 70 millimeter, or did they blow it up? That's very cool, though. I might have to hold out for a 70 millimeter screening, too. Yeah, but I'm definitely excited for that one. Paul Thomas Anderson, are you kidding? Of course. I don't know, is that coming out in December, or are they doing like a 70 millimeter release in January? I'll have to look into it. Because, yeah, if there's a chance to see that in 70 millimeter, I'm absolutely taking that. I missed Dunkirk in 70 millimeter. I wasn't up here yet. It did play in 70 millimeter in Portland, but I missed out. But yeah, anything in 70 millimeter, I'm there. Oh, interesting. Buzzing Lamp Productions, Lost Highway, Mulholland Drive, and Inland Empire, I think are part of a trilogy. That's a very interesting theory. I'd have to, gosh. I haven't even seen Mulholland Drive in ages. I really need to rewatch these movies. Let's see. Sagnick, I think it's kind of funny that the most out-of-place movie in Lynch's oeuvre is The Straight Story. I always forget he did The Straight Story. That's a great movie, though. That's a really good movie. But yeah, it's the only David Lynch Disney film. It's really good, though. It's a G-rated, heartwarming tale. But it's really well done. It's a really excellent film. Scoops, I showed a friend Inland Empire, and he said it was the scariest thing he's ever seen and won't watch it again. Gosh, I'm trying to think if there are any movies that scared me so bad I never want to watch them again. I cannot recall. No, I don't think I've ever had that experience. I did when I was younger. Like I remember Pee-wee's Big Adventure scared the piss out of me the first time I saw it. Specifically that scene where Pee-wee's in the semi-truck and the woman, what is her name? Large Marge? I forget the name. But it's that moment when her face like goes into claymation and bugs out, and she freaks out Pee-wee. I remember that scared me so badly the first time I saw that movie when I was very young. That terrified me. I had nightmares about that for ages, and I could not rewatch the movie because I was so traumatized by that. And I think I had a similar experience with the first Lord of the Rings when Bilbo sees the ring. It's when he's staying with the elves, and he gives I think it's when he gives Frodo the mithril vest, and he sees the ring hanging on Frodo's neck, and he's like, let me just hold it one last time. And he kind of does that thing where his face like kind of morphs, very similar to Pee-wee's Big Adventure, just with computer effects instead of claymation effects. But he kind of like yells at him and reaches for the ring, and you see his face kind of transform. That scared the piss out of me too when I was younger. But I saw it in theaters, and that really terrified me. Made it difficult to rewatch that movie ever again. And every time I did, I would shut my eyes and cover my ears during that whole scene because I did not want to see Ian Holmes' face morph ever again. That was so scary to me. I don't think I've ever seen a horror movie that I would never watch again, though, because it was so scary. I've definitely seen movies that were so unpleasant I would never want to watch them again. Like Benny's Video, going back to Haneke, of course. I don't know if I could ever watch that again. And actually, the films of Neil LaBute, I find very difficult to watch. I find those to be among the most disturbing movies I've ever seen. Like In the Company of Men, Your Friends and Neighbors, The Shape of Things. Those are three of the most disturbing movies I've ever seen. I don't know if I could ever watch any of those again, especially In the Company of Men. Don't know if I could do it. Very, very unpleasant. But yeah, as for horror, I think it's been a while since I've really been terrified by a film, like really viscerally terrified. I kind of miss those days when I was so easily spooked. It was more fun, wasn't it? Oh, Jack talking about Inland Empire? I think it's the scariest film I've ever seen. Oh, and Scoops, I think it's scary. It's scary as well. There are some visuals in it that have stuck with me to this day. That's good when a movie can make an impression like that. Kubrick Lover, Funny Games, I could probably watch. Have you seen Salo by Pasolini? Is it on that level? I could probably watch a more. Salo. I don't think Funny Games is as extreme as Salo. Salo's definitely disturbing. I don't find it as disturbing as it's reputed to be, though. Salo is certainly extreme, and it's certainly visceral and disturbing, but I don't know, there's a kind of detachment to Salo that that makes it, I guess, not as difficult to watch as it would have otherwise been. Just the whole way Pasolini tells that story, there's a sort of detachment to it, where you're not really getting to know any of the characters in an intimate way. He's not really, I don't think he's really doing much to try and make you identify with the victims in that movie. It's a kind of a flat, emotionless movie in a lot of ways. I think it's a great movie. I'm not criticizing it. I'm just trying to observe the way I reacted to it. I think it's a great film, but it wasn't a particularly emotional film for me. It was more of kind of like a political commentary, a social commentary. I think it's mostly trying to make you think about the nature of politics and control, and the way the powerful exploit the powerless. The way the rich and the powerful, exploit the poor and the powerless. I think it's more about social and political structures and trying to comment on those structures more than trying to create kind of like this torture porn experience where you're kind of going on this journey with this other character, with all of these victims and these characters. You never really get to know any of them very well, and Pasolini never really spends much time focusing on their emotions or their reactions. It's only kind of perfunctory, and all of their reactions are kind of muted. No matter what happens, they don't seem They don't seem that concerned with their own safety or dignity. It's very strange. So it's definitely a disturbing movie. I'm not trying to say it's not a disturbing movie. It definitely is. But it's not, I wouldn't rank it among the most disturbing films I've ever seen just because of the way Pasolini presents the material. I think his priorities are elsewhere, more in trying to make a statement, to explore themes and messages more than trying to just gross the audience out or really trying to assault them. I think he's trying to make you think more with extreme imagery. It's meant to make you think more than react, for me at least. That's the way I read the movie. But it definitely is extreme. And yeah, probably for the majority of viewers out there, it would be a lot to take. But I don't know. I would say Funny Games is probably more disturbing because you're really put in the place of the family and you're really made to feel all of their suffering and their emotion. Even though it is very abstract and it kind of deconstructs itself and breaks the fourth wall frequently, the actors are so good in that movie. It is difficult, abstract or not, it's difficult not to empathize with their suffering, which is what makes that movie so unpleasant. So I don't know. For me personally, I find Funny Games more disturbing than Salo. But I could easily see other people reacting differently, especially if you're nauseated, by excrement and what is it, coprophagia? Is that the term for it? Which Salo features quite a bit of. So I guess it depends. It depends on what your triggers are. Let's see. Oh, Sagnik, thoughts on David Lean? I recently saw Lawrence of Arabia on the big screen for the first time. Yeah, I have Lawrence of Arabia, the Blu-ray, right up here. Yeah, Lawrence of Arabia is great. I think one of the all-time great screen epics, like just epics. The way Lean creates this gigantic canvas and the way he fills it. Yeah, it's amazing. I think some of the best, like, epic scale, large scale cinematic filmmaking of all time. Lawrence of Arabia is really a masterpiece. And I've long been a fan of Bridge on the River Kwai as well. I think that's a great one too. Damn it, what's his name? Obi-Wan Kenobi. Alec Guinness. Alec Guinness, I think, gives one of his best performances in that movie as well. I haven't really seen much other Lean, though. I haven't seen Dr. Zhivago. I haven't seen, or I did see A Passage to India a little while ago. It's been a long time, however. I need to rewatch it. And yeah, his early stuff I haven't really seen either. Like God, what is with me and the names today? The Charles Dickens adaptations that he did. Like, what did he do? He did Great Expectations, didn't he? And a couple others. And I do have the box set of the movies he did with Noel Coward. But I think all I've seen so far is Blithe Spirit, which was okay. Oh, and I did watch Brief Encounter, which I don't know. It definitely had some good moments in it, but I don't know. The melodramas are kind of difficult for me to get into. I didn't think it was bad. It just wasn't really my kind of movie. But I do think Lean is a great epic filmmaker, and I love those large-scale kind of films. But I think definitely of what I've seen so far, Lawrence of Arabia has been my favorite. I think for screen epics, that's one of the all-time best. And yeah, 4 hours long, it just flies by for me. I think it's a great movie. Gosh. Come on. Get it together. But yeah, I do need to see more of his work. I need to finish, the Noel Coward box set, and I definitely need to see Dr. Zhivago. That's been on my watch list for a very long time. Gosh. I might have to bring the stream to a close soon. It's not good. Oy. Kubrick lover, have you seen the Hungarian director Bela Tar's The Turin Horse and or Satan Tango? Not easy to watch in the sense that you've got to pay attention, sort of like Tarkovsky, I guess. I like the ending of the new Blade Runner film with the water rushing into a vehicle near the sea. It's Ryan Gosling, Harrison Ford, and that actress are fighting. Yeah, definitely visually. The new Blade Runner has some great set pieces. The whole thing in with the hologram that is like skipping and the music is kind of going in and out with the scene with Blade Runner, the scene with Harrison Ford and Ryan Gosling. That whole confrontation and the setting of that is great. I thought a really memorable set piece. And the first bit with Batista and Gosling, I thought that was really good too. When they go through the wall, ooh man, that is a high impact physical fight, you know. Oh, but Bela Tar, I have only seen one Bela Tar movie. I've long wanted to see Satan Tango, this 7.5 hour movie, apparently. I don't really know much about it beyond the fact that it's 7 hours, but I still haven't gotten to see that one yet. I did see The Turin Horse, however, and I thought it was great. I thought Turin Horse was an excellent movie. Basically no plot from what I can recall. It's been a few years, but I just thought the whole way it was made, it was so visionary and really deeply hypnotic. I don't know what it was about. I didn't really walk away with much of a message or anything, but it was a movie that just kind of put me into a trance with the really long extended shots and the incredibly complex camera work. It was one of those movies that I'd probably need to watch it again to try and get, you know, like story and theme and all these other kind of complexities to it. But just the visual experience of it, watching it the first time, really blew me away. It really impressed me. Just from the very first shot, the way the camera is just kind of dancing around this horse and this cart, and just how it goes scene by scene of these long, extended shots going in real time, and the incredibly complex choreography that's being executed. It was dazzling to me, absolutely dazzling, to the point where I wasn't really able to pay attention to anything else. So I'd need to watch it again. But definitely that was enough for me to enjoy The Turin Horse. I thought it was a great film. But I would like to watch it again to try and pick up more on kind of what it's about, you know? And I definitely want to see more of Tar's films. I guess he's retired now. He said The Turin Horse was going to be his last one. But I know he's got a couple others. I want to see Werckmeister Harmonies as well. I think he also did one called Man from London. But yeah, definitely Satan Tango I want to see too. Whoops. How far back am I? Oy. Still really far back. Let me see if I can catch up, because I do need to, might need to bring this stream to a close fairly soon. Oh, here we go. Oh, Chaz's Dungeon. My mother watched Possession, 1981, and stopped at the 30-minute mark due to her personal experience. Possession seems to be a film you'll either find hilarious or disturbing. Yorgos Lanthimos is actually the same way. I had that experience with The Lobster. I thought The Lobster was very, very funny. And then I talked to, I think I've told this story before, but I talked to somebody else, a friend who saw it and thought it was deeply, deeply disturbing. Like, he didn't find it funny at all. And I was actually surprised to hear that. He didn't see anything funny in it whatsoever. It's like, wow, really? And yeah, it was because he recently went through a breakup and he found The Lobster just hit him on such a personal level that he couldn't laugh at any of the dark comedy or even really be aware of it so much, because he was just hit by what the movie was saying about relationships and love. It was hitting him, yeah, on such a deep personal level. And I was really surprised to hear that. I kind of had that reaction with Killing of a Sacred Deer too. I was feeling like a lot of bits. I was thinking like, you know, this is actually, I would probably be laughing at this a lot more if I were by myself. If I were just watching this at home by myself, I would probably be laughing at a lot more stuff that's happening. But because, I'm kind of like in a room with all these strangers, and because of the nature of the material being presented to me, I'm finding it a lot more difficult to laugh, and I'm reacting more to the disturbing elements of the movie. So that's interesting to me, just the way you can have different experiences, depending on whether you're with other people or if you're familiar with those people, if you're in a theater or if you're at home. I think it really does change the experience of the movie. And yeah, kind of what you bring to the movie as well also changes how you react to it. I find that very interesting. Oh, Kubrick lover, Chloe Webb. That's the name of the actress that played Nancy. Thank you, Chloe Webb. Jeez. Chaz's Dungeon. I kept laughing at Isabella Johnny and Sam Neill's hysterical performances, and was deeply questioning my response as if I was insane. I feel like you just got to go with your own responses, Yeah, however you react to a movie, that's how you react. You just got to embrace it, whether you think something is funny or serious or whatever. You just got to go with it, We all react to movies in different ways for different reasons. And I don't think there's any right or wrong way to react to any movie. It's all a matter of just having that reaction. And then I think criticism or having a discussion about art or film or whatever it is, it's just about trying to process that reaction and just say, this is how I reacted, and just try to understand why you reacted that way, what you were responding to, what the film, kind of what you were keying off of as you were watching the movie that was making you react in that way. Yeah, it's never right or wrong. I think it's just a matter of processing and trying to understand why you react in that way. So that to me is the only difference between good and bad criticism. It's not what you say about the movie. It's just how honest and how articulate you can be about your own personal reaction. That's the way I've always looked at it. So yeah, no matter what your reaction is to a film, you're never right, you're never wrong. You just have to embrace that reaction and try to say, this is me, this is what I got out of it. That's what art is all about. That's how dialogue happens. That's how an exchange of opinions and points of view happens. That's what art should facilitate, It's not about everybody reacting the same way. It's about exchanging points of view. It's about dialogue, discourse. It's about, understanding other people's points of view and opinions. It's about empathy. That ultimately, I think, is what art is all about. It's about empathy, relating to the people around you in different ways. Kubrick lover, 1972. Chloe Webb nailed her role as Nancy. You'd swear it was her when you see the actual Nancy on the special features. That's funny. I've never seen the comparisons. Oh, have you heard of that Russian film that had these massive sets like the size of Moscow? It's called something like Tao. I don't think it's finished yet. Yeah, someone did tell me about that, Tao. Yeah, it sounds crazy. Someone told me I should do an unmade masterpieces on it. I probably should, or maybe I will one of these days. I'm still trying to finish Dune. But yeah, that was a fascinating one. Yeah, they built this giant set, basically recreated this huge village, and populated it with like 200 actors, and then just had them live in the set for about 2 years. And basically everyone was in character 24 hours a day, actually living on this set as their characters for 2 years, full 2 straight years. And the director would just kind of go in with the camera crew periodically, week by week, and just film things, just film things happening. There wasn't really a script. I don't exactly know the full details of how it was orchestrated, but he just kind of go in and film things at random as they were happening in this artificial environment that he created. It's sort of like Synecdoche, New York almost. And he amassed like all this footage. And then I guess once he got it, he just didn't really know what to do with it. And so, yeah, the film was never completed. But it's such a fascinating idea and such a strange experiment. But yeah, reading about it, I was kind of fascinated. It sounds like it was an insane undertaking. That, yeah, it's too bad he never really managed to kind of force a structure on it or a form upon it. But it sounds like an interesting experiment nonetheless. But yeah, if you can find an article on that movie, it's definitely worth reading about. Dao, I believe it's called. I think Kubrick Lover got it right. Dau, yeah, Dao. Fascinating story. Kubrick Lover, have you heard of Shudder? I thought of getting it. It's a streaming service for horror films. I have no idea if I will get it though. Yeah, that's an app. I've seen it available on Amazon Prime. So if I wanted to get it, I'd have to go through my brother, probably give him the $10 for it. I would like to though. There's a lot of good stuff on Shudder. But I don't foresee myself getting it in the near future. I would like to though, because they have Kuzo, which people have been telling me to watch for a little while now, and I really want to see Kuzo, and it's a Shudder exclusive. So maybe one of these days I'll just get like 1 month or do like a free week of it or something, and yeah, just try to watch a bunch of shit on there, watch Kuzo, some other stuff. But yeah, it sounds cool. Just wish I had. Yeah, all comes down to money, you know. It's expensive, you know, paying for streaming services and not to mention rent and all the other stuff you got to take care of. Yeah, God, and I have a phone now with a monthly plan. Ugh. Let's see. Oh, Chaz's Dungeon. I love Upstream Color as much, if not more, than Primer. Although I think that I'll find Upstream Color more obnoxious from rewatches, as there's less that's enigmatic when compared to Primer. I don't know. I think they're both pretty enigmatic. I'd say Upstream Color, yeah, is just as fascinatingly enigmatic as Primer, but in different ways. But yeah, I think Shane Carruth really relies on obscurity in very clever ways in both of those stories, but he does it with a very different approach on each movie, because Upstream Color, you know, isn't really driven by dialogue. It's driven more by visuals and visual storytelling and visual cues that he gives the audience. And Primer is more about verbal elaboration on story and plot and things like that. And he very strategically, yeah, keeps certain bits of information from you and tries to deliver it in unconventional ways. But I think both of them, yeah, play with obscurity in really interesting ways, and I think they're both great films. Oh, Jack, I watched the first season of Peaky Blinders this week and loved it more than I expected to. Any fans of it here? Didn't see. I'm sure there are. I remember I worked on a movie. The lead actor told me to watch Peaky Blinders. He was saying it was the best thing he's ever seen. He's a big fan of Peaky Blinders. I still haven't seen it though. Lot of TV, as I'm sure most of you know. Lot of TV I have yet to catch up on. Buzzing Lamp Productions. What films from Bernardo Bertolucci would you recommend? Definitely The Last Emperor. I think that's one of his best. Great epic filmmaking. Gorgeous cinematography. My personal favorite of his is The Dreamers from 2003, I think. I think that is an excellent movie. A really underrated, excellent film. But gosh, what else has he done? Last Tango in Paris. That one's obviously very controversial to this day for obvious reasons. I think it is one worth seeing. You have to kind of put it in context for the time it was made. And yeah, you have to be willing to accept certain troubling things about it. But it was a groundbreaking film, and I think it was an important film for what it did at the time that it did it. And I think it is one of Marlon Brando's best performances. So I think it's one worth seeing. It's never been one I've been able to fully embrace. But I think it is an important film just in the history of like art house filmmaking and 70s filmmaking for various reasons. You know, for its loose and spontaneous style, the way it used improvisation in a really different kind of way, and the way it tried to confront sexuality and relationships in such a blunt way that wasn't really being done at that time. So Last Tango yeah, for all of its problems, and yeah, for all of the trouble that myself and obviously other people have with it, I think it's still an important film to see regardless. And yeah, you want to try and put it into context, and yeah, try to, even if you're going to be troubled by certain things about it, and in particular, the certain scene where, yeah, the lead actress Maria Schneider was definitely exploited by Bertolucci and Brando. Um, if you can, it's difficult, but I mean, if you can see past that and kind of see the importance of the film and its place in film history, there are certain things to glean from it and to appreciate about it. But yeah, it's a film with its ugly side, and that's more than some people are willing to look past. I understand that. That's, perfectly reasonable reaction, I think. But it's still a film, I think, for historical purposes, that is worth seeing for anyone interested, just in the history of cinema. And I think it's one of Bertolucci's most important films, regardless. But, you should see it and react to it in your own way, whatever it is, positive or negative. So yeah, I think that's one still worth checking out, to react however you're going to react to it. But then Last Emperor, I think, is a genuinely great movie, and the Dreamers, I think, is a genuinely great movie as well. And you should probably also see The Conformist as well. I'm not a big fan of The Conformist, but it's another one, just its importance, its influence are really kind of bigger than my own personal opinion on it. So it's one to see, yeah, and to kind of, yeah, put into context as well. Kubrick Lover, do you have that book on Hitchcock by Gilligan? It's like a 500-page book, but it looks worth reading at some point. I guess I'll read it. I do not. I think I only have one book on Hitchcock. I have Truffaut's book on Hitchcock by Truffaut. Still haven't read it. I need to. But I think that's the only Hitchcock book I own. Cineman San, I am way behind watching Blu-rays. Too busy watching movies in the theater. That's not a bad thing, though. That's a good thing. Let's see. Chaz's Dungeon. The Skin I Live In is a film I'd like to talk about if everyone's seen the film. If not, then I'd be spoiling the film by stating my honest opinion. Yeah, it's hard to talk about that one without talking about the big plot twist in it. So yeah, if anybody who's never seen it, that's a major, major spoiler. So yeah, I'd approach that one cautiously. Kubrick Lover, I need to watch a whole bunch of Blu-rays and DVDs, a good deal of them being Criterion's. Dana Ortiz, hi, hello, Dana, welcome. And Kubrick Lover, did you see Abel Gance's Napoleon? It's a silent film. I have not seen it. That's another one long been on my watch list. Yeah, I've heard it's like insanely innovative. I've seen clips of Napoleon, Abel Gance's Napoleon, and it looks crazy for a film made in the 20s. Like, it's insanely ahead of its time. I've never seen it though. But yeah, I've read a lot about it. Truffaut, I read his book, The Films in My Life. He wrote extensively on that movie. And yeah, it was really interesting just reading his comments on it, the way the things Gantz would do, to get POV shots, the way he would build rigs for the camera and kind of get it to soar over fields. This is in the 20s. I mean, it's insane what he was doing. Like using handheld cameras and actually filming with 3 cameras simultaneously that were then projected simultaneously to get like an early version of widescreen. It's like, wow, that's incredible. I've long wanted to see it, but I have still to this day have yet to see it. But yeah, it sounds crazy. Even just the bits I've seen, it's like you can't believe it's a film made in the 20s. It's so bold and daring, and yeah, it seems so modern in a lot of its stylistic choices. It's really crazy. I keep hearing that like Criterion or other companies are planning on releasing it, but it seems it's like one of those movies. it seems like they're constantly discovering new footage for it, kind of like Fritz Lang's Metropolis or something. It's like, oh, a new print of Abel Gance's Napoleon discovered. Like, this one's 2 hours, this one's 3 hours, this one's 4 hours, this one's 5 hours. Like, it's crazy. Like, it seems to be one that is constantly being restored and rediscovered, and we find new material and new footage. I don't know what is the current runtime on it. It's got to be like near 4 hours. I don't remember the original runtime of the movie, but like it's crazy long. I'm still waiting for them to find the original version of Eric von Stroheim's Greed, the 9-hour cut of Greed. That would be something, but doesn't seem too likely, unfortunately. Let's see. Kubrick Lover. I have the VHS. It's the Coppola version. Oh, that must be Napoleon. The Coppola version. There's the British version, which is around 5 hours long. The Coppola one is around 4 hours long. Yeah, I knew it was a long one. But yeah, I haven't seen any version of Napoleon, just a few clips of it. Oh, and do you have the Hitchcock Truffaut book? Yes, I do. I answered that one. Let's see. Have you seen Salo? I did talk about that one. I'm assuming you, heard all of that. I was away from the computer for a moment, so I don't know if you answered this question already. Oh, shit. Sorry to repeat that about Salo. Yeah, I did talk about Salo. But yeah, I have seen it. I think it's a great film. But yeah, just to recap what I said about it, it's basically, I think it is a very disturbing movie, but I don't think it's as disturbing as it's reputed to be. To me, it's more a film about social and political commentary and about power structures and just kind of about how the rich exploit the poor. And the whole stylistic approach that Pasolini took to it, to me, seems very detached and observational. It doesn't really do much to make you empathize with the victims, and I think forces you to think more about how the victims relate to their oppressors and vice versa. I think Pasolini was more interested in making the audience think about power dynamics than be disturbed by the extreme material. that was my reaction to the movie. Yeah, I kind of went a bit more in depth before, but yeah, I don't want to repeat too much. But yeah, that was basically the way I reacted to it. I do think it's a great film, though. I'd like to do a recommends video on it fairly soon. Oh, Chaz's Dungeon. I can't watch Kids again. Larry Clark's Kids. Yeah, that's a dark one. I've never found that one particularly difficult to watch, but I could definitely see why somebody would. Yeah, I think Larry Clark is great, even though, yeah, he's very harsh and nihilistic. I do think he's a great filmmaker. Let's see. Oh, Jack, I just watched Lawrence of Arabia for the first time last night. I would love to see it on the cinema screen. Yeah, I saw Lawrence of Arabia in 70 millimeter at the Seattle Cinerama, and oh my God, it was unbelievable. The screen was so big, and the compositions utilized like every inch of that gigantic format. So I mean, it's one of the few movies I've ever seen where you're sitting there, and I was pretty close to the screen looking straight up, and it's one of those movies where, like, because he's using this wide canvas so well, you're kind of like, you're looking over here, and then it cuts, and now you're looking over here. You have to actually crane your neck to see every bit of information on the screen. It was so great. You really just get lost in the landscapes, you know? That's a great one to see in 70 millimeter, though, on the biggest screen you can find. I don't know how much longer I can go. I'm starting to break down. Oh, Kubrick Lover. Yeah, I think Pasolini doesn't use a lot of close-ups in Salo to distance yourself from the film, right? That's sort of what you're saying? Yeah, I think that's basically what I'm saying. And also just the performances are kind of, I don't know, kind of flat. He doesn't give the victims a lot of dialogue. He doesn't give them a lot of moments to really express kind of how they're reacting, to the situation. They're just kind of like, they just kind of like, I guess, have decided that they're just going to put up with it almost, and they're just going to try and get through it as best they can. So, but to me, yeah, that kind of just speaks about, that just kind of speaks to how lower classes are exploited by the upper classes, and how, yeah, the lower classes just kind of like grin and bear it. It's kind of like, this sucks, but there's nothing we can do about it. We have to subvert to authority. We have to submit to authority. And that's kind of their place. They just, no matter what happens, they just have to take it. And really the only moment I can think of, where one of the victims actually says, like, I can't take this, this is horrible. The only response she gets is another one of the victims telling her, offer your suffering up to the Virgin Mary, or something like that. It's basically saying, like, well, there's nothing you can do about it. Just offer up your suffering. Just kind of just find a way to put up with it. They never talk about trying to escape. They never talk about trying to overthrow their oppressors. It's just kind of like, here we are, and nothing we can do about it. Which to me makes me think it's meant to be acting as more of an allegory or more of a metaphor than as a literal thing. Which is why I react, yeah, more to the social commentary of it. Because yeah, it's just curious the way they react. To me, that just kind of makes me interpret it in a less literal way. But yeah, it's not like Haneke's funny games, where you're really put in the place of the victims and you're really forced to empathize with them, even through all the abstractions. You're absolutely forced to empathize with the victims. And Salo, I just don't think is really like that. It really keeps you at a distance from the victims, and I think just asks you to think more about, yeah, the situation and the dynamics more. Cinnamon San, I had trouble watching a Serbian film. I don't feel the need to watch that again. Overrated and made to shock. I just thought it was a bad taste. I still haven't seen a Serbian film. I don't know if I'll ever watch it. Maybe one of these days. But yeah, still have not yet seen it. I've heard a lot about it, though. That's one that frequently comes up. Yeah, still haven't watched it yet, though. Kubrick lover Pasolini said the excrement eating scene, I think, was making a comment about fast food. That's great. I'm pretty sure he said something like that. Oh my God, that is hilarious. Fast food. Oh man, I took it as being kind of like just like a metaphor for exploitation. Just how the poor are just so relentlessly exploited by the rich, or whatever you want to say, the powerful and the powerless. Just how, kind of things are constantly made harder for those on the bottom, and they're constantly fed just shit after shit after shit, while the people on top just kind of exploit and enjoy all the power and all the wealth and all the riches and all of the luxuries, and comforts, and they really just kind of take sadistic pleasure in making things worse and worse and taking more and more from those beneath them. So I view the excrement kind of as a metaphor for just everything that is put down on the poor and the powerless and the people on the bottom of those power structures. It's just kind of like they're fed shit. That's the ultimate metaphor for exploitation, is just being forced to eat shit constantly. So that's the way I read it. I need a tissue, damn it. I'm going to step off screen. I'm going to mute the mic and step off screen to spare you all from this. Ay, 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 ay. Weather Vane Films. The distance of Salo is what freaked me out. No character has a human reaction to anything that is happening. It really got to me. Yeah, I could definitely understand that. I think it kind of makes you look at the world around you in a different way. Makes you realize, like, holy shit, we are those kids. We are those kids being forced to eat all this shit, and we're doing nothing about it. I think that was the whole point Pasolini was trying to make. It's like, this is what this is what the modern world really looks like. And I think Salo, has only become more and more relevant as time has gone on. The metaphor, the power of that metaphor, I don't think will ever really lose its potency. Kubrick Lover. Lawrence of Arabia is one of my favorite films. I have that Blu-ray box set as well. I've seen Lawrence twice in theaters. And what do you think of Dr. Zhivago? Oh, I said I have not yet seen Dr. Zhivago. I need to watch that one. And Sasha's back. Welcome. Welcome back. I just answered Dr. Zhivago. It's really good. Great visuals, excellent musical score by Maurice Jarre, which you've probably heard because it's one of those scores you'd be familiar with. Would I? Okay. Maybe I have heard it. I just don't know it. I'm bad with music. Let's see. Oh, Zach Hayes. I love Filmstruck. It has all the bonus features from Criterion and some exclusive features. I held off for a while, but I don't think it's coming to PlayStation anytime soon. Damn it. That is disappointing to hear. I hope they're working on it or something. I'd love for them, to put an app on the PlayStation, because then I probably would definitely get it. Kubrick Lover. Oh, Bellatar does these long shots in Satan Tango, sort of like Tarkovsky's films. Yeah, I've only seen the one Bellatar movie, but he seems to have a lot more camera movement than Tarkovsky. Tarkovsky's movements, from what I recall, they tend to be very slow and methodical, and very deliberate. Bellatar, at least from Turin Horse, I don't know if that's comparable with the rest of his work, or if it's different, or if it's more, I guess, active than his other work. But I remember Turin Horse, the camera is like constantly moving, constantly reframing. It's like he never really sticks with the same kind of shot for very long. He'll go from wide into a close-up, into a tracking shot, into a medium shot, into an exterior, into an interior, into behind the actor, to the side of the actor, to the front of the actor. It's like the camera is constantly finding this huge shot variety all within one continuous movement. I remember I was astounded by it. It was so complex, and so active and so dynamic. I was really blown away by that. But I don't know if that's if the rest of Tar's work is like that, though. I've only seen the one, like I said. But yeah, I definitely want to see Satan Tango. Oh, Zach Hayes. I just hook my laptop up to my computer, and I listen to the commentaries on my phone in the car using the Filmstruck app. They have commentaries. That's very interesting. That's very cool, though. That definitely would, add some bang for the buck on that one. That's, there's a lot of commentaries, that I'd love to listen to. Oh, Fabio? Oh gosh, I'm still way behind. Oh, here we go. Fabio, I had the privilege of watching Lawrence of Arabia for the first time in my life in theater on 70 millimeter a couple of years ago. Amazing. I had the same honor seeing it for the first time on 70 millimeter, which I think allows you to appreciate it on a home format much better, because the Blu-ray is great. It's very crisp and clear, but having had that experience of seeing it on a gigantic theater screen, I think it helps when you watch it on Blu-ray to have had that experience and to be able to imagine and see the way those shots, the impact that they would have, on a gigantic screen, on a very large format screen. because I think even if you have a great home theater, it just doesn't really match, seeing that movie, seeing Lawrence on a giant theater screen in a 70 millimeter projection. The visual impact is unparalleled to that. So I think, yeah, definitely seeing it in 70 millimeter and seeing the way it plays on that gigantic canvas, it gives you more of an appreciation for it. And you can watch it on Blu-ray and know, like, oh yeah, this shot, on a gigantic screen, it has this kind of feeling. It has this kind of scope and impact. I think you really need that experience with Lawrence of Arabia. It's one of those movies you really need that theatrical experience, the 70 millimeter experience with that movie. Oh, and Fabio, it's on my list of DVDs to buy, Lawrence. Though nothing will ever beat the experience of 70 millimeter in a theater, of course, of course. Luca, Bergmeister Harmonies is Tar's masterpiece. I need to see that one. I wonder if I could find any of these at the library locally, because I know that Portland libraries have a wider selection. I might have to look up Bellatar, see what I can find. Oh, Cinnamon Sand, the Turin horse has a political undertone. The storm represents the harsh, extreme right-wing political wind that is currently still dominant. Interesting. I totally missed out on all of that, so I might have to watch it again. Or I definitely need to watch it again, because, yeah, I totally missed out on, all of those more subtle commentaries that the movie was making. Yeah, and I heard it had something to do with Nietzsche and some kind of anecdote from the life of Nietzsche involving a horse. So yeah, a lot. Kubrick lover, did you see Jodorowsky's Dune? Great documentary. Yes, definitely. I did see that one a couple times, and yeah, it's great. I love that documentary. Fool on the Hill, have you seen Altman's The Long Goodbye? Yes. That's a very interesting take on film noir, a very thoroughly Robert Altman take on film noir. Elliot Gould is fantastic in that movie. Such a spontaneous performance. But that's what I love about Altman. It's Long Goodbye is not one of my favorite Altman movies. It feels a little long and a little rambling, but yeah, to me the best thing about it is the spontaneity and the actors, especially Elliot Gould, how much he's just in the moment in every scene and just kind of playing and riffing and just kind of doing whatever comes into his head, and just kind of, just accepting the spontaneity and just trying to make each scene, as inventive and as unpredictable as he possibly can. So yeah, there's a lot of great moments in that movie. Just, thanks to those performances, thanks to Elliot Gould, and thanks to Altman's, just his loose style and his way of just kind of trying to put everything in the moment and just letting things happen, letting life happen, on screen, which I think he did as well as any filmmaker out there. And yeah, Long Goodbye, I think, was the only time he really worked in like the film noir format. I guess there's bits of it in other movies he's done, but yeah, Long Goodbye is like a full-on film noir. And yeah, a really different kind of take on that genre. But I mean, that's Robert Altman. I mean, whether he was doing Western or comedy or satire or war film or film noir, he always gave it his unique spin. Let's see. Kubrick lover. I think you can get Shudder on your computer, maybe on a Blu-ray player or a smartphone TV. You have to pay for Amazon TV to get Shudder. Yeah, I think it's also available as an add-on app for Amazon Prime. That's where I've seen it. But yeah, they do have a few exclusives and a few things on there that I would like to watch. But yeah, don't think we can afford $10 a month or an additional $10 a month at this point right now. But oh well, it's one to keep an eye on though, certainly. Oh, Fool on the Hill, probably my favorite movie of his, of Altman's, Long Goodbye. Very interesting noir from the 70s. Luca agrees, The Long Goodbye is great. Cinnamon San, I love The Long Goodbye too. Let's see, Kubrick lover. Check out your library. Maybe you could save some money and see more films. Sorry if that sounds kind of obvious, but you say you want to save money. I have to save money too. I rarely go to the theater now because my rent is too high. Oh, that sucks. Um, oh, and Kubrick Lover, Conformist and Last Emperor are two of Bertolucci's best films, and I would definitely throw The Dreamers in there with that. Oh, Cinnamon Sand does too. Don't forget The Dreamers and Novecento. I wasn't a big fan of Novecento, but that probably is, yeah, one worth adding to the list as well, Novecento. Yeah, love it or hate it, it probably is one worth watching just for the sheer ambition of it. Oh, Luca, anyone seen Inherent Vice? PTA took great inspiration from that one, from Long Goodbye for Inherent Vice. I could see that. Well, Inherent Vice is really PTA's like loosest movie. There's really almost no plot that I can remember. And yeah, I remember reading all these behind the scenes stories that, yeah, making that movie, he was really just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just kind of letting stuff happen. Whatever actors want to do, we're just kind of like playing around and, yeah, just seeing what happens. And it made for some interesting moments, but I don't know. Inherent Vice, for me at least, is a little too long, and yeah, just a little too loosely held together. I would have liked, I don't know, just a bit more focus on it, a bit more discipline on that one. It was just a little too loose for me. I got pretty frustrated with it. But I only saw it the one time, and I would actually kind of like to revisit it. But so far for me, that's been my least favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie. But I do know it has a lot of defenders and it has a lot of fans, which yeah, is kind of why I'd like to revisit it. Is, yeah, seeing that a lot of people are really defending it as like an unsung masterpiece. So I don't know, kind of like to at least give it a second chance. Oh, Luca, I'm watching Il Conformista right now. Very cool. One thing I will say about that movie, even though I think the story, for me personally, The Conformist, I think the story is kind of weak, and the characters are a little flat. It's a movie that, yeah, kind of holds me at a distance emotionally. But I will say, Vittorio Storaro's camera work and cinematography are gorgeous in that movie. Absolutely gorgeous. It is one of the most sumptuously photographed movies of all time. And I think probably worth watching just for that reason alone, for Storaro's photography. Kubrick Lover, Coppola's version of Napoleon, I think it's 4 hours and 5 minutes. Brownlow version, 5 hours, 15 minutes. Gantz's original version, around 6 hours. Damn. I had no idea it was that long. Well, I kind of did, but geez, 6 hours. That's insane. And I think they're still trying to find the original 6 hour version, right? Because it seems like they just discovered like a version fairly recently that was the longest version they've yet found. But yeah, I don't think we have the original yet. Maybe we'll find it one of these days. Maybe not. With stuff that old, it's pretty tough, yeah, to find material still in like viewable condition. That's the sad thing, yeah, about the early days of cinema. Wasn't really taken care of. Didn't tend to last very long, unfortunately. Chaz's Dungeon. What film would you recommend watching while tired? Are you looking to go to sleep or are you looking to stay awake? If you're tired, I don't know, maybe watch a loud movie. Watch The Thin Red Line. Natural Born Killers. Just a movie that is like well, not really Thin Red Line, but like something like Natural Born Killers that's just like a constant assault. That might keep you awake if that's what you're looking to do. But yeah, Thin Red Line kind of does that to me too, because you turn it up way loud, the music, and yeah, the explosions and the battle scenes. Man, they really leap out and hit you. The whole design of that movie is incredible. I think Thin Red Line, even more than Saving Private Ryan, I think Thin Red Line probably has the best battle scenes of any war movie out there. They're so unbelievably well done. Really just like epic filmmaking, I think, on the grandest scale. Malick's Malik's definitely one of those few that can make films on that scale and really fill it, like David Lean, actually. But that's a rare talent indeed. But yeah, I don't know if those are good suggestions for watching while tired, but I don't know. Natural Born Killers, I think, would be a good one. Or, yeah, something Oliver Stone, kind of like that. Just movie that's all energy and assault, yeah, and just sound and image, boom, boom, boom. Natural Born Killers is one of my favorites, just as far as visual roller coaster rides. And another one is David O. Russell's Three Kings. I think that movie is just a sheer visual rocket ride from start to finish. I love Three Kings. That's still my favorite David O. Russell movie. So I'd recommend that one too. Let's see. Oh, Sasha, Lawrence of Arabia is fantastic on my projector. 4K, beautiful restoration. And the image is 12 foot wide. That does sound pretty badass, I have to admit. Oh, Kubrick lover, what do you think of the rape scene in Irreversible? What do I think of that scene? It's horrific. What else could I possibly think about that scene? It's absolutely horrific. I've only ever watched it once. I've seen the movie Irreversible multiple times, but every time I rewatch it, I always skip past that scene. I don't think I could bear to watch it a second time. Which, now that we bring it up, movies can't watch a second time. Irreversible, I can watch everything except that scene a second time. Yeah, that 10-minute rape scene, no thank you. I am not giving that a second viewing. I skip over it every single time. I definitely do not wish to watch it again. And yeah, definitely that particular moment is too much for a lot of people to handle. And, you know, I can't even argue. Some people really feel like Gaspar Noé really crossed the line with that scene. You know, I can't argue with people that feel that way, because I can fully understand why people do feel that way. But I think he makes a point with it. I think it does serve a purpose in the context of the story. And I think it's a very powerful statement against violence. The whole film is in its structure. And I think the whole way it was done, it's the way a scene like that should be done, you know, where he really gave Monica Bellucci control over the scene, which, yeah, for a scene like that, as intense as it is, as sustained as it is, and yeah, just with how relentlessly violent it is, it's really something, yeah, you really have to give the actress the control and the power in that scene. Even if her character doesn't have the power, you really have to give the actress the power in that scene. And it was really, like, from what I've read of, like, Noé and Bellucci talking about how the scene was done, it was really a situation where she decided how long it was. She decided how brutal it was. She was kind of directing the scene herself and stating, you know, what she was comfortable with, where she wanted the scene to go, and yeah, how she wanted to play out, and yeah, how sustained it was going to be. So, and that's really the way to do it. And I was glad to read that, you know, that it wasn't a situation where Monica Bellucci was legitimately traumatized by that experience. But yeah, it was a situation where she was saying, like, no, we have to make the strongest statement we possibly can with this scene. And she was the one, like, really trying to push it further and make it as extreme as it possibly could be. And hats off to her. She did an amazing job. So effective that I would definitely never watch that scene a second time. But it makes its point. It makes its point very, very strongly. But I do think it's a great movie. Despite the fact that, yeah, I could never rewatch that scene. I think it is an extraordinary film. And yeah, like I said, a really powerful statement against violence and vengeance, of just kind of, yeah, just showing how, yeah, violence is ugly no matter what. It's never really glamorous or justified or cathartic. It just kind of creates more pain, you know, and more misery. And that's yeah, the despairing thing about it is that there's really no solution to a situation like that. There's no catharsis. It's just more pain, which makes the movie very difficult to watch. But I don't know, it's such a stylistic achievement. I've watched it multiple times just to marvel at how well made the film is. But yeah, it's definitely emotionally not an easy film to watch. Not an easy film to watch. But I'm sure anybody who's familiar with the movie knows that. Kubrick lover, do you have the Trilogy of Life Criterion box set by Pasolini? Yes, I do. I've got it back here. Where is it? It's right over there. Do you see it? Let me see if I can get right here. That's the Trilogy of Life. Yeah, it's good though. Definitely, those movies are a lot more enjoyable than Salo. They're actually very funny, very lighthearted, surprisingly. They start getting fairly dark around the time of Arabian Nights, the third part. That one gets kind of dark in a lot of spots, really paving the way for Salo, which was going to be the first entry in the Trilogy of Death. But of course, Pasolini was murdered before he could do the other two parts. But yeah, Trilogy of Life, yeah, I think all three of those are really good, really surprisingly funny films from Pasolini, who's not really known as a lighthearted filmmaker, but those are the closest he came to ever making like lighthearted comedic films. And especially, what's the first one? The Decameron. Yeah, there are a lot of very funny moments in the Decameron, and actually Canterbury Tales too. There are some very outrageously funny moments in Canterbury Tales. So yeah, they're very different films from Salo, but yeah, I think they're very funny. Roy O'Connor, anyone see Justice League? My brother saw Justice League, and Felix, they're doing a review on it for their channel, Film School Failure. So maybe check that one out. I have not seen it though, so I can't comment on it. I've heard it's bad. That's all my brother and Felix talk about is how terrible it was. But I have not seen it, so I cannot comment upon it. Let's see. Oh, Kubrick lover, I've only seen the Decameron, but only in the theater, not my actual disc. Did you like that one? Yeah, I thought that one was funny. I liked Pasolini's cameo in that one too. Just because he's in the he's in the church, and yeah, just all the subtle little things he does to disrespect the practices of the monks. If you watch him, just like his body language and stuff, there's a lot of like sacrilegious humor going on in all those scenes that I really enjoyed. And kind of Pasolini's subtle, subversion of religion. Which is kind of funny. Was he an atheist? I thought he was a Catholic. I don't know too much about Pasolini, but it kind of seems like he was both. He was both like a religious person and also an anti-religious person. But you can kind of see like both sides of that at play in his work. I mean, you watch something like what was the film about Christ that he did? The Gospel According to St. Matthew. Like that's a very straightforwardly and respectfully religious film. It takes religion seriously, and it tries to present the story as straight-faced as possible and as respectfully as possible. But then, yeah, you watch the Decameron, and he's definitely, it seems, trying to subvert and satirize, a lot of religious practices in that movie, and in Canterbury Tales as well. So yeah, it's kind of funny. There's two sides of him in that way. But hey, that's people, right? I mean, there are multiple sides to all of us. You can't really pin anyone down. I think, as much as we would like to categorize people as being one thing or another, I feel like with most of us, it kind of exists in shades of gray. We're not really ever one thing or another. We're a mixture of both simultaneously and more, probably. I think human beings are a lot more complex than we're often given credit for, you know? I don't feel like things can just be so easily thrown into one side or another, or so easily categorized as I think a lot of people would try to do these days. I'm always kind of frustrated by that. Let's see. Chaz's Dungeon. I believe that I should see Irreversible before any other Noé film. I believe that I'll be desensitized after Enter the Void. They're all extreme. Love is probably the most lighthearted one. That's the easiest one to watch. But they're all going to assault you in different ways. I would recommend starting with I Stand Alone. I think because each movie is kind of linked. The end of the previous movie is linked to the beginning of the subsequent movie. So I feel like you kind of have to. He's constructed them in a way where you kind of have to watch them all in order. You kind of have to go from I Stand Alone to Irreversible to Enter the Void. So, and it's kind of a build too. Each one gets visually more intense. I Stand Alone is thematically intense. Irreversible is thematically and visually intense. And then Enter the Void is just kind of sheer relentless visual assault and intensity. So I feel like there is kind of a build that happens, an escalation. But I think you really do need to watch them in order that way. Kubrick Lover, would you watch Cannibal Holocaust? I don't think I could watch it. And Chaz's Dungeon points out there is an animal cruelty-free version. I don't know. I haven't seen it to this day. I might watch it one of these days, but I don't know. That's a tough one. Yeah, definitely movies with animal cruelty, especially a movie like Cannibal Holocaust, where it is, yeah, just kind of where, from what I've heard, it is so cruel and so extreme, and kind of pointless. I don't know. I really don't know. Possibly, but we'll see. Perhaps. I can't say. I don't want to close myself off to any potential experiences. So I might. I don't want to say I'll never give it a shot, but yeah, that's a tough one. I may watch it one of these days, but I really don't know. Kubrick Lover, speaking of Tar and Tarkovsky, have you seen Russian Ark? It's a movie that's done in one take, around 70 minutes long. It's actually longer. It's about 100 minutes long. And yes, I have seen it. I've seen it a couple times. That is an amazing movie. I will say it's kind of, as far as the story that it creates around the idea and the concept of it, I don't know that it's really able to fully sustain that 100 minutes, but so what? I mean, it's such an achievement doing a whole film as a 100-minute unbroken shot. That is staggering. That is so amazing. And the coordination of it, the actors and the extras and just the lights and the crew and the camera, it's amazing. It's unbelievable that they actually managed to pull that thing off. But it's so amazing to see. Yeah, I highly, highly recommend that one to anybody who's never seen it. Russian Ark, yeah, is a beautiful movie. It might test your patience a little bit, but I think it's worth it's worth kind of sitting out the moments where it is kind of drawing out a little bit. It's worth kind of like trying to it's worth powering through those moments to get through the whole thing, because really by the end you really feel like you've gone on this incredible journey. Just the whole way it progresses in real time, moving through real space. By the end of that journey, you're really left with a feeling that no other film can give you, I don't think, because really no other film has quite been done in quite the same way, except for that German one. What was that called? Veronica? Damn it. Victoria? Can't believe I forgot it. But yeah, there's just something about, yeah, moving through real time and real space like that for almost 2 hours. It really kind of, it's almost like holding your breath, you know? You're really kind of on edge the entire time because you can't believe you're waiting for something to go wrong. You're waiting for a mistake. And so when you finally kind of get to the end of an experience like that, it's really like a situation where you can finally just kind of let go and let the breath go, let the tension go. It's like, they did it. I can't believe it. They did it. So it really has an impact at the end that a more conventional movie wouldn't have. So, I mean, despite those narrative weaknesses that I would say Russian Ark has, it makes up for it with just a cumulative experience by the end that actually leaves you, genuinely affected, that actually does have an impact on you, specific to the way it's done. But yeah, I think it's a great movie. For all of for all the limitations that come with the conceptual design of it, I think the strengths more than outweigh those weaknesses. Zach Hayes. On the site for Filmstruck, you can ask for an email if and when it comes to PlayStation, but it's been months and no emails about it. But definitely worth getting for the laptop to hook up to the TV. Good to know, Zach. That's funny. I didn't know they had an email list for it. But that to me, that means that there are people waiting for it, and they know that there are people waiting for it. So hopefully that means they are at least looking into it or trying something. I don't know, but hopefully they do get that up and running soon, or at some point. Let's see. Kubrick lover. Speaking of widescreen, editor Walter Murch says in one of his books he puts small cutouts of people near the editing screen to see what it would look like in a theater. That's actually a very good idea. I would see. Oh yeah, and Sasha says that's from his fascinating book, In the Blink of an Eye. That was part of the syllabus for film school. We had editing classes, and we had to read Walter Murch's In the Blink of an Eye. But yeah, that's a fascinating book. And yeah, I like that idea. I feel like more directors should direct in that way too, because I feel like the monitor has kind of spoiled cinematic filmmaking. I feel like previously, it was really when directors directed, they didn't have playback, they didn't have little monitors to look at. I honestly believe like monitors have given a lot of directors the idea that they're shooting for TV, they're shooting for a screen that size. And so I think with monitors, you tend to favor like close-ups, you tend to favor more of a television kind of format. Whereas if you're just going off of a feeling, you're going off of your head, you're going off of a frame in the eyepiece, then I think directors tend to shoot in a more cinematic way, in a more landscape kind of way, in more of a wider kind of way. And I honestly think that's very important, and I like that Walter Murch does that. I feel like directors should do that too. They should get like an MST3K style silhouette to put on the monitor to remember like, oh yeah, these images, they've got to be big and they've got to fill a frame, they've got to fill a canvas. And I feel like that would help more directors to shoot in a cinematic way rather than more of a television way. Because I feel like we're missing that. I feel like we're losing that more and more. I think it's starting to come back, with more directors shooting in 70 millimeter and more directors, trying to get into the idea of, the showmanship of filmmaking, which I think is an important aspect of it. To me, all of the greatest directors, there's an element of showmanship to what they did, even to somebody like Kubrick, who was very methodical and analytical and artistic. I think there was also an element of showmanship to what he did and the way he would use Steadicam and the way he would use special effects, and the way he would create these huge, complicated shots. I think there is an element of that to somebody, wanting to dazzle the audience a little bit, wanting to show off a little bit. And I feel like that's becoming more and more of a forgotten element of our cinematic experiences in the 21st century. I feel like television really has become the dominant format, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But I miss those days of the real cinematic kind of experiences with directors that really filmed their movies for a cinema screen and had that skill, that flair for showmanship and for painting on the canvas, the theatrical canvas. But I feel like it is kind of starting to make a comeback with more directors shooting on 70 millimeter. Definitely like Blade Runner. That's one of the things I loved so much about it, is that it felt like a movie conducted for a cinema screen, not a television screen, for a cinema screen. And it was absolutely gorgeous and so thrilling for me to see, because I really felt like this is the way I should be watching this movie. I feel too often now when I see movies in theaters, like I often feel like I should be watching it on a smaller screen. But, when I watch like a Terrence Malick movie or a Denis Villeneuve movie, it feels like, yes, this is the screen for this movie, the big theatrical screen. This feels right. But I worry that there aren't enough directors doing it that way anymore. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I haven't seen enough movies, but I worry about that. I feel like that is something that's starting to vanish more and more. But maybe it is making a comeback. Um, but yeah, I hope more directors, uh, learn to see their movies more that way on a larger screen and try to conduct and shoot in that way more. But I think the Walter Murch technique would definitely help with that. Oh, Kubrick lover. Nietzsche, this is the anecdote that inspired Turin Horse. Nietzsche saw a horse being whipped, put his arms around the horse, and was put in a sanitarium afterwards. I guess the horse is the one Nietzsche hugged? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of cryptic, isn't it? I don't really see too much how that's connected yet to the anecdote, or if it's just inspired by it. I don't know. But I read that there was some kind of connection there. Not really sure. Not really sure, though. Not really too familiar with Nietzsche, so there's only so far I can take that. Oh, Kubrick lover. Inherent Vice, I have to agree with you on that. PTA has made better films. Oh, but Sasha, watching Inherent Vice stoned gives you a greater appreciation. I really enjoyed it personally. Oh, and Luca, I actually love Inherent Vice. Probably if more people dug Pinchon, the author of the book, the movie would have been more understood. Fair enough. I did read the book before I saw the movie, and I actually really enjoyed the book. That's the first and so far only Thomas Pynchon book I've read, but I really liked it. But I just felt like the kind of loose structure of it worked better as a novel than as a movie. That was me personally, how I reacted to it. But it's not like it was a movie without its moments. It definitely did have its moments, especially, I mean, Joaquin Phoenix's performance. He was definitely having some fun with that one. Yeah, there were some good moments in it nonetheless. Oh, Kubrick lover, did you get the Criterion release of Malick's The New World? 3 different cuts. Gotta watch it at some point. Yeah, I want to get that one. I do not have it, but I do want to get it. Yeah, I would love to watch all 3 of those cuts. Let's see. Huh. Sasha, the sound editors of The Thin Red Line said they all would have preferred to be working on Saving Private Ryan instead. Interesting. Yeah, I've heard Malick can be a little frustrating to work with. Or maybe they just wanted all the Oscars. Who knows? But yeah, that's not an uncommon thing that I've read, especially post-production people. I've read, yeah, that Malick can be really frustrating to work with. He can be kind of hands-off through a lot of that process, and that can be really frustrating for people in those positions, especially editors. That's why it takes so long for Malick to edit a movie, because he really, apparently from what I've read, I don't know if this is true, but I've read that, yeah, he's just really hands-off in that whole process, and just kind of like, he'll give notes and then just kind of go away and then come back and just kind of wants to be surprised each time by the movie. And he wants to see things that are unexpected, and he has a lot of trouble finalizing things and making final decisions. You know, he wants to see it like without dialogue, with dialogue. He wants to see it with voiceover, without voiceover, with different voiceover. It's really, yeah, it's a process with him. And understandably, yeah, frustrating for people probably used to working with directors with more of a goal in mind, you know, with more of a mission plan. With Malick, it's really just kind of like, let's see it this way, let's see it that way. You try doing it. I don't want to tell you what to do. You just try putting it together. Let me see what happens. Let's start over. Let's try it this way. Just like, man, make a choice, right? I could see how some people would definitely be frustrated by that. Zach Hayes, I appreciate Natural Born Killers, but it seems to beat you over the head with its messages. Yeah, it's not a subtle film, but that's what I enjoy about it. I can appreciate subtlety, but I can also appreciate lack of subtlety as well. It's all in the way it's done, and I feel like Natural Born Killers, it's such an original film in the whole way it's presented that it turns lack of subtlety into an art form, for me at least. But yeah, I've long been a fan of that movie. Oh, Jack finally watched some of Del Toro's films I haven't seen this week. I watched The Devil's Backbone and Mimic. Loved Backbone. Didn't like Mimic. Yeah, Mimic is it's the orphan child of Del Toro's filmography. But I actually think it's underrated. I enjoy Mimic. For all its flaws, the director's cut of Mimic, I think the second half in particular is really, really good. The first half is still kind of just like, you wish he just kind of had more control over it to do what he wanted to do with it. So it's a really compromised film. And yeah, sort of like an orphan child in his oeuvre, the movie that just wasn't what he wanted it to be for various reasons. I'm actually going to do a video on it fairly soon. But despite all of that, I feel like there are still strengths in it. There are still things in it that really work well. The insects themselves in Mimic, I think, are really well designed and really fascinating. And the whole subterranean sequences in that movie, when they travel into the domain of the insects, I think is really well put together and really exciting, and really well crafted. But yeah, it's a movie with a lot of flaws, unfortunately. And yeah, Devil's Backbone is a masterpiece, along with Pan's Labyrinth. I think they sort of formulate Del Toro's statement against war and conflict and violence. And I think Backbone and Pan's Labyrinth are two of the most powerful anti-war movies ever made, and that use genres in really creative ways to explore the nature of war and the nature of violence. In the case of Devil's Backbone, it uses the ghost story as a way of exploring war. And with Pan's Labyrinth, he uses the fairy tale as a way of exploring war and makes very powerful statements, very powerful anti-war statements in both cases. But yeah, they're great movies, great movies. Kubrick lover, do you have a threshold for how far you will go to watch violence and sex in a film? Or does it depend on a certain context or not? Yeah, I don't know. I don't consciously have limits, but yeah, I definitely have movies. I don't know. It really does depend on context. It really depends on presentation. Because I'll see certain action movies, for instance, that'll just feel so pointlessly, excessively violent to me. But then I'll watch something else, like I'll watch, say, George Romero's Dawn of the Dead, and I'll really enjoy the violence and the gore. But yeah, it's all just in the way it's presented, I guess. Because like in Dawn of the Dead, there's a sort of comic book sensibility, or like in Sam Raimi's Evil Dead, there's a sort of cartoony sensibility. There's a style to it. There's a presentation to it. There's a sense of fun, of playfulness, of creativity, of imagination. And then there's other movies that, are just all about suffering and pain and torture, and they really don't have any kind of imagination or creativity or flair or stylishness. And it's all just kind of about pointless exploitative violence, and I really don't enjoy it. So it really does depend on the way it's presented, the style of the film, the context of the material, and just whether or not there's a personality to it, whether or not there's imagination and flair to it. It really does depend on the way material is being presented. Because I think anything can feel pointless or superfluous or excessive if it's not presented in the right way. But if it is presented in the right way, then it feels like it fits right in. So I guess it just depends on the movie. It depends on the filmmaker. It depends on the story. It depends on a lot of things. But I don't think violence or sex themselves are necessarily bad things. They can just be more colors on the easel. They can just be more, they can give you more options to create the canvas. It just depends on how you use them, really. So yeah, it would really have to be taken on just, a film by film basis, for me at least. Oh, Kubrick lover. Have you seen? Whoops, lost my place. Duh. Oh, did you see Straw Dogs? There was a rape scene in that film as well. What are your feelings on that? I've never been a big fan of Straw Dogs, and yeah, I don't really appreciate, yeah, that particular rape scene. Sam Peckinpah, I mean, was pretty obviously, it's pretty obvious he didn't like women, and he didn't have, yeah, the most progressive feelings, yeah, on women and on gender, and yeah. There's definitely a streak of misogyny to a lot of his work. I think he was a great filmmaker, but yeah, that's kind of one of the things you have to accept about him and his films, is that they are very misogynistic. And yeah, Straw Dogs, especially, yeah, the whole way he suggests, like, ooh, she's secretly kind of enjoying the assault. It's just like, oh, Jesus. It definitely makes you cringe. It makes you very uncomfortable. But I don't know, the film does have a certain kind of power to it as well. It says some very unpleasant things, in some very dated ways now. But the film, I don't know, it continues holding on to a sort of following, and I think it continues affecting people in certain ways. So I think there is something behind it, behind all the tastelessness and the chauvinism and the misogyny. I think there is something about Straw Dogs that continues affecting people in uncomfortable ways. So it's been a while since I've seen it. I'd like to rewatch it. Um, but yeah, definitely, it is a tasteless movie in a lot of ways, but I think also an effective movie in other ways. So I don't know. I feel kind of conflicted on Straw Dogs. I'm kind of back and forth on that one. But I would like to rewatch it. I would like to give it a second viewing, to, yeah, kind of refine my reactions to it. But yeah, there's definitely things I like about it and things I definitely do not like about that movie. Have you, a Kubrick lover, have you seen Leone's Duck You Sucker, aka A Fistful of Dynamite? I have not seen that one. I've seen most every Leone film, and I've seen the other spaghetti westerns, but I have not seen Duck You Sucker. And I actually haven't seen Once Upon a Time in the West in a very long time, not since I was in high school. So yeah, my memories on that one are very faded as well. I need to revisit that one. Let's see. Jack, is Love worth watching? Gaspar Noé's Love? I heard negative things about it. Yeah, a lot of people disliked that movie. I actually think it's great. I think Noé's Love is really, really good and definitely worth watching. I will say that seeing it in 3D on a theater screen is the most effective way of viewing it. I saw it actually here in Portland. I traveled to Portland to see it in a theater near here, in 3D with Gaspar Noé in attendance, and it blew me away. It's one of the best 3D experiences I've ever had with a movie. It was amazing. It was so, God, what's the word? Why do I keep forgetting this word? It was so not innovative in. Damn it. I apologize. God. I am not, my mind is not as sharp as it used to be. God, I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm hungry. I have been streaming for about 3 hours and I am starting to feel. I've only had pancakes today, so I should get some more food in my belly. What is the word? So, when you get immersive. It was so immersive seeing that movie in 3D. You really get lost in the visuals and the whole way it's shot and the way it uses the 3D. It creates such an intimate feeling with the characters and the story, and it totally immerses you. It's one of the best experiences with 3D I've ever had in a theater. That one and Ang Lee's Life of Pi are the two best films I've ever seen in 3D that use it in such an integrated way to really tell the story. So seeing it in 2D is not as good, but I still think it's a really good film. It's Noé's, most lighthearted and most accessible film, which I don't think is a bad thing. But yeah, I like it. I do like it. I'm a defender of that movie, and I think people should watch it. I think it's a lot better than it's led on to be. Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe the self-referential qualities, maybe. Noé does kind of reference himself a lot in the movie. There are negatives to it. There are flaws to it, of course. It's a movie made by a human being. All humans are flawed. Everything we create is flawed. Big deal. But I think Love definitely had a lot of strengths as well that don't get enough credit. I think it's a very good movie. I would recommend it. There you go. Let's see. Oh, Kubrick lover. Pasolini was a communist, and I'm pretty sure an atheist. Yeah, that would make sense, but I don't know. He also said he was a Catholic, apparently, in a couple interviews. So I don't know. He's a fascinating enigma and contradiction. But yeah, I believe he was a Catholic. Yeah, he was openly gay in a time when, it was really not accepted, unfortunately. Yeah, and he was a communist. And yeah, I think at different times an atheist, but also, a devout Catholic as well. So yeah, he's a fascinating artist, a fascinating individual. I have a book actually on Pasolini I have yet to read, but I would like to learn more about him. Let's see. Kubrick lover. I asked Roger this. What film or maybe films have you watched more than any other films? Well, probably Coraline. I've seen that movie probably upwards of 50 times, maybe more. I imagine Coraline is probably the film I've seen more than any other. I would actually kind of like to make a ritual of it. I would like to watch it a certain day of the week, every week. It's one of those movies. I never tire of it. It was actually the first movie I watched in this room. First thing I put in Coraline. So, and I would kind of like to ritualize it. I would kind of like to, turn it into, kind of like almost like a religious kind of thing. It's a movie that, means that much to me. I would like to create more altars to art and obsession, kind of like Guillermo del Toro in Bleak House. It's all about, creating altars to creativity and imagination and the things that inspire him. I like that idea of kind of ritualizing art and creativity and the things that you love. It makes sense to me. It does. We're probably going to bring the stream to a close fairly soon, but we'll see how much more I can get through. Sasha, Children of Men, 12 Monkeys, and Collateral are three that I always return to. Those are three great movies. Children of Men, I haven't watched in a long time. I would very much like to rewatch that one. It's been a while since I've seen that one. That is a great movie. Such a great movie. Oh, and Jack, Victoria. Victoria is the German one-take movie. Victoria, thank you. Yeah, that was a really good one, too. Chaz's Dungeon. Although the acting is unintentionally hilarious and Noé rubs his dick frequently, I would recommend the film, talking about love. Yeah, okay, fair enough. I do think it's a good movie, though. Okay, I'll give it a watch. I'm glad you will, Jack. I hope you enjoy it. I do hope you enjoy it. Kubrick lover, have you heard about Letterboxd? You can have an account and leave a review. Just ask because you do good analyses and have just knowledge in film in general. Chaz's Dungeon. He does have a Letterboxd account. The name is DisRegarding H. Thank you for answering that, Chaz. Yeah, I am on Letterboxd, DisRegarding H. Yeah, I haven't really posted stuff as frequently as I once did. But yeah, I do try to get on there every once in a while and try to post, yeah, a quick review or something. I need to update my lists too. I'm falling behind on that. Kubrick Lover, speaking of TV, there's a really good show on Netflix called Black Mirror. The only episode I didn't like was episode 2 of season 1. Yeah, I watched a couple episodes of season 1. I need to finish Black Mirror because, yeah, even just what I saw, the couple episodes I watched were really damn good. I definitely, yeah, need to check out the rest of Black Mirror. My brother watched is it 3 seasons? I think it's 3 seasons of Black Mirror now. And yeah, he was raving about it. I think, yeah, he considers Black Mirror one of the best shows he's ever seen. So yeah, I need to get on that. Chaz's Dungeon, Nosedive is my favorite episode out of the episodes I've seen. Jack, Nosedive is my favorite too. Yeah, I need to watch the rest of Black Mirror. I've heard a lot of great stuff about it. And Cinnamon Sand, sorry to leave, but thanks for another nice movie get-together. I'm getting off to bed. Have a good time. See you all later. Bye-bye, Cinnamon Sand. I'm sure you left already, probably ages ago, but I will wish you a goodbye nonetheless. Chaz's Dungeon, have you seen Lanthimos's Alps? The film seems to be his least known film and the shortest. It's 60 minutes long. I have not seen that one. I'll have to check that one out. I think that's one he did while he was still in Greece, correct? Yeah, the only Greek film of his I've seen has been Dogtooth, which is a great one. And gosh, other than that, I think I've only seen The Lobster and Killing of a Sacred Deer. I don't know how many other films he's done, but I would like to check out some more of them. Kubrick Lover, Christopher Plummer did not like working with Terrence Malick on The New World. Yeah, it seems to be a toss-up with actors as well. Some love working with Malick, some really do not love working with Malick. He's got a very particular kind of working style that, yeah, just seems to be exactly what some actors want and exactly what other actors do not want. So yeah, it seems to really depend. It can go easily either way with Malick and his collaborators. I just finished doing a video on Badlands. I want to start going through Malick's work and, yeah, doing videos on them. And I just did one on Badlands. And, yeah, reading about that film and watching, yeah, the interviews and stuff on the Blu-ray, it was really a pretty tough situation for him, especially on that movie, because it was his first film. He was unproven. And, yeah, the crew members and the technicians he was working with on that movie were all more experienced than he was, and yeah, absolutely hated the way he was working, the way, yeah, he wanted to use natural light, his kind of loose and spontaneous working methods, and yeah, his desire to kind of capture things in the moment. He'd spend hours, you know, setting up a shot, and then he'd see something over here that would catch his interest and be like, no, take the cameras, put them over here. Let's capture this. Let's put the actors over here. And yeah, he had 2 cinematographers quit. One, the original quit. Another came on, he quit, and a third one was brought on. And yeah, he just clashed with everyone constantly. They just did not understand what he was trying to do, how he was trying to do it. So yeah, he's been one just with his unconventional working methods. He's kind of gone through, yeah, a lot of clashes and conflicts and trying to do what it is he's trying to do. But I guess, yeah, for some artists, that's the way the cookie crumbles. You know, they just have to fight to bring their visions to life. Let's see. Kubrick Liver, Devil's Backbone, meh. Loved Pan's Labyrinth. For the most part, I don't like most of Del Toro's films. Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. I think he's one of the greatest filmmakers currently working. I would say every one of his films I've seen, and I think I've seen them all, except for Shape of Water, of course. I think all of them are really extraordinary in different ways. All of them reflect his immense imagination, his incredible artistry, his complete dedication, you know, to his to his kinds of stories, and his commitment, to creating personal works of artistic expression. It's amazing. I think he's really an extraordinary artist. I would recommend Kubrick Lover that you give his work a second chance, at least, especially Devil's Backbone. That's a great movie. I would recommend going back to that one. Let's see. Chaz's Dungeon. Your illness is likely the reason for your confidence. It's a problem I have to deal with every time. Yeah, it's the being physically sick has also kind of like triggered my depression a little bit too. Yeah, the last week or so I've been just really down. Yeah, low energy and stuff too. Yeah. So yeah, kind of dealing with some kind of flu and yeah, body illness, and then yeah, just that kind of flaring up with the depression too. It's been a drag, and yeah, relocating and moving, God, everything. Just been worn out the last week. Let's see. Jack, I strongly disliked I Stand Alone. I'm sure I can understand why. It's not a pleasant film. Was that the reason, or was it something else? Oh, Jack, I found that one to be in bad taste, and I thought the whole thing was trying to be Taxi Driver. I thought it was really pointless and graphic, edgy for the sake of it. Yeah, fair enough. I disagree with that. I thought it was an excellent movie with a really brilliant performance from Philippe Nahon, the lead actor. I'm sure I'm saying his name wrong, but I thought he was really great as the central character, as the butcher. Really some extraordinary work, and I thought, yeah, the really relentless quality of the way the film's made in its pacing and the tension that Noé creates throughout all of it. I thought it was really good. I thought he took inspiration clearly from Taxi Driver and other films, like Angst, put them through his own imagination, gave them his own spin, and really created a film that I think was his own, and is, like all of his movies, an incredible stylistic achievement, and a really disturbing, fascinating character study. So I was a big fan of I Stand Alone, but it's not for everybody. I'm not gonna, yeah, I can't say I don't understand your reaction as well, Jack. It makes sense. It's not a film for everyone, but it was one that I thought was quite good. That was me though. Whoops. Lost my place again. Oh, Zach Hayes. How you watch Coraline is how I am towards The Princess Bride. Then There Will Be Blood. That's a great one too. But I haven't watched them here recently. SLC Punk and Ed Wood are some others that I used to watch all the time. Yeah, There Will Be Blood. That is a great one. I actually, because I just started listening to the comedy of Paul F. Tompkins, a comedian and actor and podcaster. I've been really getting into his stuff lately, and he does a whole album where he talks about the small roles he's had in different movies, like a small appearance in Magnolia, a small appearance in There Will Be Blood, and a small appearance in Steven Soderbergh's The Informant. And he's a really funny guy. But listening to that album, it made me curious, like, oh, I kind of want to see his appearance, like in There Will Be Blood. And I put in the Blu-ray and just watched his scene, just went right to his scene. It's like, oh, yeah, there he is back there. And then, wouldn't you know it, just within a couple minutes, I've gone from, just out of putting it in out of curiosity just to see a small bit actor. And then suddenly I'm just watching the movie. It's one of those ones that just so effortlessly, like, hooks me and draws me in. I just put it in. It's like, oh yeah, there's Paul F. Tompkins. And then, yeah, just very next moment, I'm just like, God damn, this is a good movie. And I'm just watching it and getting absorbed and finding it impossible to turn off after that. It's one of those great films that just effortlessly draws you in, effortlessly engages you, in the story and the characters. It's so great. It's so great. Oh, Sasha, season 4 of Black Mirror is beginning very soon. I think I'd heard that they were going to do a fourth season. So, okay, so there are 3 seasons. I'm glad I got that right. But yeah, I know my brother is a huge fan of that series, and I need to watch the rest of it. I think I watched, how many episodes did I watch? I think I watched 3, maybe 3 episodes, maybe more. I can't remember now. I'd have to look at the episode list. But yeah, they were all very good. I need to finish it. Oh, Sasha, the production designer of Badlands, Jack Fisk, met and married Sissy Spacek through Badlands. He also did The Revenant too, yeah, and he's worked on a lot of Malick's recent movies too. He did The Thin Red Line and Tree of Life. He also plays the man in the planet in Eraserhead, the guy pulling the levers, like covered in all the clay and everything. That's him too. Yeah, I love Jack Fisk. I think he's also the production designer on The Straight Story, too. He does the Midwest really well. He's kind of like the go-to guy for that. Whoops. I think we can about bring this to a close. Oh, Zinzu, Jack Fisk also worked on Mulholland Drive. I didn't know Mulholland Drive. Oh, and The Master, and There Will Be Blood. That's right, There Will Be Blood. Of course, of course. Great production design. And of course, the sign of great production design is production design that you don't even notice. And yeah, There Will Be Blood recreates its era, so effortlessly. Yeah, you don't even pay attention to it. It's just so flawlessly done. Yeah, Jack Fisk is, I think, one of the great production designers. Every film he's worked on, I mean, just has been a masterpiece. It's crazy. Yeah, Zinzu says that. Yeah, the Master, There Will Be Blood. Insane. They are 3 of the best films of this century. Absolutely. Let's see. Oh, are we talking about Hacksaw Ridge? Yeah. Very split reaction to Hacksaw Ridge, understandably. Yeah, I was a fan of it. I liked Hacksaw Ridge. I can definitely see, yeah, where some people are criticizing it, as being a glorification of war and violence. There is that side to it, I think. But also, I have to be honest, about my reactions to movies. And I was moved by that movie. Uh, in spite, yeah, of everything I could criticize about it. I was very moved by the story, and I was very moved by the journey that the central character goes on, and his commitment to nonviolence. I was very moved by that. Again, I can't say that that was, yeah, the right reaction. And yeah, there are other things I definitely understand the criticisms of that film. But when you get right down to it, I was moved by it. I was moved and stirred emotionally, and that's kind of what I have to go with. That's the reaction I have to stick to. If I'm moved by a film, if I'm drawn into the story, if I'm moved by the events and the characters, and I'm stirred in some kind of emotional way, whatever else I could criticize about the movie, I have to give it credit for that, and I have to speak of it positively in that sense. But yeah, I could certainly understand the criticisms of it. It's not a perfect movie. It's a movie, yeah, with a lot of flaws and a lot of things that where I was kind of like, I don't know, this feels kind of racist, stuff like that. But ultimately, I was moved by it. So, in my book, that makes it a good movie. That's me, though. And I think with that, we can probably bring this stream to a close. Oh, Sasha, I think Donnie Darko is a masterpiece. Big fan. Do you like it? Gosh, I only saw it once a long time ago, and I actually remember not liking it. But it's one that for years now I've been meaning to rewatch and yeah, give a second viewing. Because yeah, I did not get it. Not just like I couldn't follow the story, like I just didn't get why people loved it so much. It really just kind of went by me. I didn't see what was so special about it. I didn't see what was so good about it. But it's been a long time, so I should really rewatch it. Jack, Donnie Darko is dank. Is that good? Is that a positive? I'm sorry if I don't understand that. I'm assuming that's positive. That sounds positive to me. Donnie Darko is dank. I don't know. It could go either way. I'm going to assume you like the movie. Zach Hayes, Shaun of the Dead, The Big Lebowski, Eternal Sunshine, and of course, any Kubrick film I go back to. Yeah, good list. Jack, it is pretty, talking about Hacksaw Ridge. It's pretty horrible that violence is glorified by that particular story, though. I don't know that it's glorified. To me, I think the violence is meant to be horrific. It's meant to disturb you and disgust you. That was the reaction I had to it. Certainly, seeing all the death and blood and destruction, and especially the way that contrasted, with kind of the more kind of cheesy 50s style. I think somebody mentioned that the movie does kind of take a deliberately cheesy sort of approach, or sort of an old-fashioned approach to its first half. And then in the second half, when it gets to the battle scenes, I think that has the deliberate effect of making the sudden turn into horrific violence that much more shocking and impactful, because you're really not expecting it with the tone of the earlier scenes of the movie. It kind of feels like a 50s movie in a lot of ways in the first half. And then suddenly in the second half, it's just like when you see guys get blown apart and you see, all the graphic gore and violence, I think it really hits you in a very deeply upsetting and disturbing way. That's the way I reacted to it. So I think it makes the violence that much more unpleasant in the way Gibson approached the story and the way he chose to tell the story. It makes the violence more impactful, and it makes it more nauseating, more disgusting and upsetting. So for me, it wasn't really a movie that glorified violence. There are moments, where it does kind of go into like, the heroic Americans, decimating the evil Japanese. And that, does feel inappropriate and like sort of a glorification of war and violence. And when the story did lapse into those moments, I was kind of like, I don't care for this so much. But when it was just sort of about this character, witnessing this overwhelming carnage and just trying to save as many lives as he possibly could, whether they were American or Japanese, just simply trying to help people and do some good and save people's lives. That section of the movie I found very, very powerful and very, very affecting. And to me, it was a statement, against violence. And there were those other parts where Gibson kind of goes in the opposite direction, but I choose to focus more on the positives rather than the negatives, the things I reacted to positively in the movie, the moments where I felt it was making a statement against violence, against war, and more for, humanism and pacifism. I kind of dug that chunk out of the movie and was like, this is good. This is really good, and this is what I'm going to focus on because I was really affected by it. That's the way I chose to view it. And what do we have out here? In the last few comments here. Nice to talk to you. Nice to talk to you, Kubrick lover. Thanks for tuning in. Chaz's Dungeon. Donnie Darko is great. Okay. I interpreted the film abstractly, and by the end, I was confused. Understandable. Jack, I rewatch Spike Jonze's Her quite a lot. And I love Donnie Darko. Jack mentioning at the end, I think I did mention that scene. That was not such a good scene. And Sasha, did you see Nicholas Winding Refn's Pusher yet? 5 out of 5 favorite of mine. I still have not yet seen Pusher, but I should see if it's available at the library. I can't remember if I wrote it down or not. I need to start going through this list and going through the checking the library catalog, seeing what's available. Pusher. All right. Oh, and Jack talking about Hacksaw Ridge. To me, I noticed more negative things in the film. Well, fair enough. You know, we all react to movies in our own ways. Like I said, I chose to focus more on the positive things because they did undeniably affect me. But, you know, if the negative things were speaking more strongly to you, and that kind of defeated your ability to enjoy whatever positives there were in the movie, I mean, that's fair enough. That's your reaction, you know, and I can't tell you how you reacted to a movie. You have to tell me. But yeah, that was how I reacted, was more in a positive way. Yeah. I think we're gonna close it now. We're gonna bring it to an end now. I've got to eat something. I'm sure, yeah, everyone else has bedtimes and dinner times. So yeah, hope you all had a good time. It's missed streaming last week because I was moving, obviously. But yeah, it was nice to come back. I think we had a good time, even though I'm kind of sick. And my throat is starting to kill me now. But hey, that's okay. Hope we all had fun. And I'm sure I'll be back next Saturday doing another stream, talking about movies. And I'll be posting recommends videos, and I'll be putting more work into Unmade Masterpieces, hopefully. Oh, I hope I finish that at some point. Maybe I can finish it before the end of the year. Maybe. I don't know. I'll try, though. Yeah, thanks, everyone, for joining me. I hope to see you next week. Check out the other videos as they come. Yeah, leave comments, like the videos. It all helps out. And yeah, hope you all enjoyed yourselves. Hope to see you next week. Remember, in the meantime, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and try to watch some good movies. You know, is that really so hard? Put more goodness, put more positivity out there in the world. Oh, Sasha, next Sunday morning I'm traveling to France, so may not be joining. Hey, that's fine. Have a good time in France. Very cool. But yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.